Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Lemon Clear here with you on Grande's Graveyard. And tonight I am welcomed by one of my best friends in the whole wide world. He is a WCW expert. We are Wolfpack for life, my friend.
Too
He's the
sweet, baby.
one, the only, Dan Giulianotti. What's going on, good brother? How are you tonight?
Not much, bro. It's honestly, thank you for having me on this show. It's a pleasure. We've been talking about this since you've been doing this at Farmingdale when before there was even really the show on YouTube when you were doing it live on the Ram Radio Network. So honestly, it's nothing but an honor to be on with one of my best friends right now talking WCW.
Dude.
I love WCW. I'm a mark for 1996 to about '01 when the company unfortunately folded.
Yeah, no, and we have been talking about this for a while, and it's funny. I've been doing mostly horror, like almost 100 episodes of just strictly horror, and then Horror Boy Nate reached out to me and was like, "Could we do like ECW? Would like pick up ECW pay per view?" And I was like, "Sure." And then when I did that, Dan was like, "Bro, you're doing ECW with him. You got to do WCW with me." So I was like, "Yo, hell yeah, man. You say the name, time, all that stuff, and we would go ahead and do that." So thank you so much for coming on. We've got a couple people in the graveyard here tonight. James Moss.
Nice to meet you all. I hit up a couple of my boys too. My boy Tim's supposed to be hopping in. My girlfriend's supposed to be hopping in. So we'll be seeing what's going on. I went on YouTube last night and I had her subscribe to you so she knows what's going on.
I saw. I got weirdly enough, like last night I got mad subscriptions. So I don't know if your post was a cause of that. So I do appreciate it if it was.
100%, bro.
We got James Moss in the house. AJ Zitro's in the house. The Master of Fear is here. What's going on, good brother Devin? Help all as well with you, buddy.
What's going on, boys?
Yeah, and James Moss doing okay tonight. Very nice to hear. So I figure we get off, and talk a little bit about your love for pro wrestling. I usually ask the people that come on with that horror why they love horror, but fun thing tonight, we can ask you, what made you fall in love with wrestling and WCW in particular?
Well, professional wrestling has just been something that my mother and my father both grew up watching. My mom, I bought her a Hulk Hogan shirt like every year. She always wants a new Hulk. She loves Hulkster. She's like loves it so much. My dad was always big into it. So at a very young age, probably like my first like recollection of like watching wrestling was Undertaker and Mankind at King of the Ring '98 was probably the first pay-per-view I actually have a remembrance of watching. Because they put me into it and I just always had a love for it. Not as much now because it's too corny for me, but like Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era, that's where my love for professional will always be. And WCW, I just remember watching it back in the day because my mom was such a big Hulkster fan that she always had WCW on as opposed to WWF at the time, WWE now. So that's why I feel like WCW just is like so close to my heart that I have more remembrance watching WCW product than WWF product, like Nitro as opposed to Raw.
Yeah, and that's such a nice thing that you guys actually got to sit down and enjoy it as a family. Like that's, when I watched wrestling, I was always alone watching it. Like I would just throw on Raw or throw on ECW or throw on SmackDown or whatever it had, and I would just be like so into it. I'd have friends come over and stuff, but like just I think it's the coolest thing in the world that Mama Kriegs is a diehard Hulkster fan.
She loves Hulkster.
That's so cool.
And Macho Man. I used to watch it with my grandparents too. It's the craziest thing. My grandmother had a love for John Cena. It was probably those abs or whatever. But anytime John Cena was on the show, so Friday Night SmackDown when I was in Florida, she was always tuned in. And my grandfather as well. He loved it too.
That's great. That's so
great.
We
were a wrestling family. That's my mom's side. They were just loved wrestling.
Yeah, and it's nice to hear this too because I know that at least in my school, like growing up, like wrestling always had a bad stigma around it.
100%.
People would be like, "Hey, Grande, that's fake, right?" Like I hate that kid in the hallway would be like, "Hey, it's fake, right?" And I'd be wearing a wrestling shirt, a Shawn Michaels shirt or something. I was just like, you know what? I enjoy it though, and their movies are fake. I enjoy those. All the horror movies I review on there, those are fake. So I just never got the stigma. But I think it's so nice that your family was open minded and enjoyed the show for what it was, and you could always kind of enjoy it together. Do you have any specific wrestlers or wrestling matches, storylines, anything like that, pay-per-views that stand out in your mind as some of your favorites?
Well, I would, when you said about the thing about people being hateful about the wrestling and everything like that, I agree 100%. But I feel like me as a person, just like so much passion and everything for it, I put a lot of people onto it that still watch the product to this day. I don't watch the product as much now, but I just remember in elementary school just talking to people about it, and some people still are following up with it and everything like that. I watched my first episode of like AEW full in like a year, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was a really good. I think I'm going to be leaning more towards watching that as opposed to WWE because I just can't watch it anymore. I like the gimmick matches and stuff like that. I love technical wrestling, but WWE is too just PG. I'm 25 years old. I want to see blood. I want to see sex appeal. I want to see just all this. Like, and WWE is not that product. It's more driven towards children, which I understand. That's their market. And AEW is more of a 18 to 30 age range, I think, which reminds me of the Attitude Era. But as you said, favorite wrestlers. Well,
Oh no!
I love Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. Holler if you can hear me. Fun with the pack.
Awesome.
And also, I got on my shirt right now. This is a vintage Four Horsemen. You got Flair, you got Malenko, you got Benoit, and you got Steve Mongo McMichael. I'm hoping he pulls through. I love Mongo. Monday Night Bongo.
Yeah, but, and this is the era. Isn't this the era?
Yeah, they're all four of these guys are on this shirt or on this pay per view. And by showing that shirt, Flair is Flair is probably my number one guy of all time. I love Ric Flair, his promos, everything. Limousine ride, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. So I'd probably say Steiner and Flair. Ironically, they're both WCW guys, but those are probably like two of my my 1 and 2 of favorite wrestlers.
Those
Scott
are
Hall as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those are some great picks. We got a ton of people in the house. John Landry. I don't know if he's one of your buddies. I've never seen
that's Tim. That's Tim Landry.
Oh, it's. I was like, who is this moisture? I was like, yo, I'm King Nigor's in the house. Good brother Corey, how are you tonight, my friend? The big bad booty daddy. Hell yeah, man. WCW.
Yes, sir, baby.
Back. I agree. WCW. It would be nice to have it back.
Oh,
I guess
AEW
is the equivalent now. King Nigor's in the house. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you picked some great wrestlers, and of course we could open up to the chat. Who are some of your guys' favorite wrestlers? But do you have any specific matches and or pay-per-views that stand out for you, like top of the top?
My one pay-per-view in general, it's not WCW, but it's one pay-per-view that always stands out to me is WrestleMania 20. That three-way match, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chris Benoit. I was a mark for Chris Benoit back in the day. I know his name is very taboo in the rest, but putting all his stuff behind us and everything like that, he was just one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time. And when he went over and Eddie Guerrero went over and that hug exchange at the end with the confetti coming down, I had the 3-disc. I still have the 3-disc set, and I used to always watch it every time we were going on a car trip or anything like that. And WrestleMania 19 was another one. Brock versus Kurt Angle. I had the entire neighborhood over at my house to watch it. Yeah, we didn't pay for the pay-per-views. We had this illegal cable box that you put a clamp on it, and it put 2 wires together. My dad got it in Brooklyn when he was working in Brooklyn, and you would have to stay still, and the pay-per-view would come in, and you couldn't even like sneeze or else it would go out. So we would be sitting still and be like, it finally came in. So I remember having the entire neighborhood over to watch that. That was Aki Bono and Big Show in a sumo wrestling match. That was a funny match. And that's my favorite, my like most recognized like match was probably the triple threat match with Michaels, Triple H, and Benoit at WrestleMania 20. That's one of my favorite matches of all time.
I agree, and that's those 2 WrestleManias you mentioned, I think, are 2 of the best.
2 of the best, and 17 would be another one of mine as well.
Yeah, like 19, I think that was the one in Safeco Field. That's a great show all around.
Yeah.
Every single match pretty much delivers. And then the Garden, that was WrestleMania 20 in the Garden. You're right. That iconic image of 2, workhorses that were really seen as jobbers in WCW early on in their career. Then they transformed into the Radicals when they moved over to WWF, and then to see them both top of the mountain at a
exactly
WrestleMania main event, hugging as confetti flies. I mean, just storybook stuff, and it's actually weighs so much emotionally now, knowing that both those guys are gone, sadly.
It
And it's
is.
just like when I see it now, I'm just like, damn, at this time this was supposed to be the future, and then I don't think either guy lived 3 more years. I think that was it.
No, that was '04, I believe. '04, and then Eddie was dead in
Late '05.
'05, and
Yeah.
then Benoit was early '06, I believe.
I think actually mid '07, I think.
Mid '07. So Eddie
Yeah.
might have been in '06. I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, I mean neither am I.
Regardless, though.
It is, yeah, regardless. And I think that's a great, really, really great show. I like the point you make too about camaraderie, the camaraderie of wrestling, like having the neighborhood over. Like that's I
Yeah.
remember I would have friends over for pay-per-views too. We did buy it, unfortunately, for my, my parents. They probably weren't happy with it. But we'd get pizza and fucking, sodas and shit, like just shooting the breeze, just like anything else, like I always go to have a big Super Bowl party. I always go and
Yeah,
have a
love it.
big, if the Mets are in the World Series or a big Mets game, we'll go out and do something like that. But wrestling and the big four pay-per-views and just the regular pay-per-views, just nice to just have people come over and chill and shoot the breeze. And that's just like one of my main loves about pro wrestling too. It's the camaraderie with others and talking.
That's
about
what I like doing recently with you when we would have the Wolfpack over at your house watching the pay-per-views and everything like a couple years ago when we were watching the Money in the Bank ladder matches before me and you. Like, I think I speak for you as well that we kind of fell like out of love with professional wrestling in the state it is right now.
Yeah, and when I originally started this YouTube channel, I wanted to do everything. I didn't want it to just be exclusive. Like I wanted to do sports, I wanted to do wrestling, I wanted to do horror, I wanted to do not even just movies of just horror, just all genres, comedies, action, drama, all that. I wanted it to be well rounded, and honestly, that was around the time where I just started falling out of love with it. For whatever reason, I think it's management. I think it's creative. I think there's a lot of reasons as to why wrestling stinks now. Unfortunately, I think
Road Dogg booking it.
Road Dogg booking SmackDown.
Yeah.
I went on some classic rants, but also like bringing stuff back.
Nobody wants to see Oldberg. Nobody wants to see Oldberg in WCW in the '90s. That's when Oldberg was good until 2003. Nobody wants to see Oldberg versus Bobby Lashley in 2021. Put over some new freaking talent. I don't want to see Oldberg.
Yeah, it's like I really do believe too that they just pull the card. It's just like, oh, we need a big pay-per-view opponent. Oh, well, we can't build
The
one.
cop-out.
Cena. Oh, we need another one. Oh, Goldberg. Like, I hate shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't like pulling the card. Okay, every once in a blue moon, it could be fun if you have a dream match lined up, something like that. But they pull that card so much
way
now.
too often.
And
Cena can still work. I'll give him that. But Oldberg, after dropping the Undertaker on his head, that should have been the end of it. No more Oldberg. Cena, he still work. He's a lot younger than, I don't know about a lot younger, but he's still probably 10, 15 years younger than Oldberg. I don't want to see him. I can deal with Cena here and there, but no more of him.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just so burnt out of it. Like I got so burnt out of it and watching the fucking like just week in and week out. I was like, why am I watching this? I'm watching a sink, a sinking ship. And I finally just decided to throw in the towel and honestly focus more on film. And since I have, that's really why I like doing this show every week. Master of Fear says, not the biggest sports guy, no problem. Sucks on making video games. Edge and Christian and the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys in the ladder match.
Yes, sir. That was phenomenal.
That trilogy of matches, absolutely incredible.
Big Boss Man. I'm a mark for the Big Boss Man. Going into the middle rope, arms out like that. I love Big Boss Man.
Big Bubba, gotta love him.
He's on this card. He was on this card.
Yes, he is, and we'll be jumping right into that soon. AJ Zecher says Oldberg. Yeah, I hate Oldberg. I don't know.
I have to give Grande credit for that one. He came up with Oldberg, and I just ran with it.
Yeah, I made fun of with his son too on a stream with Nate. Oh my god, I went off. I was like, he did it to impress his fat son. He came back.
Yeah, literally though.
Oldberg sucks. John Landry. You can't see me. Burn. Yeah, Undertaker is the only WWE sports person I've ever watched. Well, you certainly
watched a great.
Yeah, you did. You watched one of the best. Dan gave me one of the DVDs. But before we jump into the meat and potatoes, I know we're going to do that. I figured since you bought me this, you were cool enough for my birthday to buy me this. I figured a little bit of WCW merch. If you have any more merch or figures or anything you want to show off, dude.
Yeah, I can see what I got.
And then go ahead. I've got, this is a really cool one. Dan buys t-shirts from this really cool Instagram page. What's the page called, Dan? Do you know?
I think it's the wrestling. No, it's I don't know off the top of my head. I'll look it up though.
It's like Wrestling for Sale, something like
Yeah,
that.
wrestling for sale.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. He buys only like retro, but like, authentic tees from back in the day. This is a Halloween Havoc 1999, I think. Some really cool stuff. This was only sold at the arena. So, and you got some of my favorite things on here. I mean, you've got Halloween Havoc, so horror themed wrestling pay per view. And then, of course, a guy playing poker on the back. That's like my favorite. One of my favorite things to do is play Texas Hold'em. So I thought it was really cool. He kind of hit the trifecta in little retro wrestling.
This is one I have right here. It's a Viva La Raza shirt.
Oh man, awesome!
Just I got a couple more. They're in the closet. I'll find them in a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. But those are some fire ones. Big Boss Man was on America's Most Wanted.
Was it really?
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I had no idea. But we can jump right into this. We actually got together last week. We sat down, ordered a pizza, had a really, really nice, chill retro wrestling night, and we watched Bash at the Beach 1996, which just a couple weeks ago celebrated its 25th anniversary. We're not doing it on the day of course, but close enough. I mean, 25 years ago. Of course, it's remembered for its historic, infamous main events, and we'll get there. But I figure we run down the card. We can talk about, likes, dislikes, all that good stuff. And, we can go from there. I've got the little tab up on here. First and foremost, I didn't realize this till I did my research. There were not, one, not two, but 5 fucking dark matches on this show.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah, crazy. That, dark match usually do 2, 3 tops, but they had Jim Powers going over Hugh Morris.
Which... I hate Hugh Morris anyway. That was a huge erection, I think, or a general erection, and when he was in the midst of an action. Horrible.
Yeah, and he was also Bill DeMott.
Bill DeMott, yeah. He was the trainer, and then he did he was bullying or something like that, so they kicked him out of the as trainer.
You're right. He did the Full Metal Jacket thing where he humiliated some guy they were training. He was overweight, and he was like, "Here, eat this jelly donut," and shoved the jelly donut in the guy's mouth and made people do push-ups. What the fuck, man? That guy.
He was shot. I never liked him to begin with.
Yeah, me neither. I'm glad he got fucking.
Yeah, me too. I was not a Bill DeMott guy.
So this is a weird one. The Steiner brothers versus Harlem Heat for the tag titles on a fucking dark match.
That was a phenomenal rivalry in WCW, and the fact that was a dark match is when you told me this. You told me this about 15 minutes ago. I was astonished because that's money right there. That's a money match on a dark match. That's astonishing.
Considering the tag match that's on the actual show, it really is, and we'll get there. Bobby Walker defeated Billy Kidman in a 2-minute squash. I don't know who Bobby Walker is, yet he was there for 11 years.
The fact that he went over Billy Kidman is sad to me, too, because I love Billy Kidman. He's the guy who started the Shooting Star Press, or he made it. I don't know if he started it, but he's the one who made it popular.
And Billy Kidman's Shooting Star Press was so fucking fun.
Yeah.
It was really Jim Rossi always did the high-risk maneuver, by God, but his was really you can see guys like Neville and Balor, they always
Evan Bourne and stuff like that. Yeah.
But Kidman, I've seen him botch it. It's just such a dangerous. I don't know. He doesn't he doesn't get much hang time on it. It's just kind of a flop, He's
throwing himself off the rope easy. He's doing a gainer.
Yeah, for real. And I don't know. I always really liked Billy Kidman. He also is a legend in my mind for being with Tori Wilson.
Yeah, he still works for WWE. I'm pretty sure as a writer.
Yeah. He's a backstage guy too. Him and I think Fit Finley is.
Yeah.
They have quite a few. I also think Malenko is, and we'll get.
Malenko is as well. Yep, you're right.
The Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson versus Fire and Ice, Scott Norton and Ice Train.
I've heard of Scott Norton. He was an NWO guy.
Yeah, I don't. That's a weird. I don't get why there were so many. And then the last dark match was Eddie Guerrero versus Steven Regal in a 3-minute squash.
That was probably a good match too if it would have went more than 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, and I don't know. I just think it's absolutely bizarre that there was that many. I mean, I wonder what the show time. I mean, all of these matches combined barely hit 20 minutes. I don't even think they do hit 20 minutes. So maybe they did a half-hour pre-show with all that shit, and it's we're fuck it, do 5 matches in a half hour. Fucking go for it. Very weird. But the opening match on this show, we can go right in. honestly, I think this is match of the night, and this is like one of the best reasons as to why WCW I think was so good at the time. And even though the backstage management and people like that, like Bischoff, they didn't promote them like they were the biggest thing, but this was the cruiserweight division, and this was the cruiserweight championship match. Actually, no, this was just a singles match. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This was Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Psychosis. This was a really great match.
It's great. They had a phenomenal rivalry dating back into Mexico and ECW. I've watched quite a few of their matches on WWE Network and just DVDs I've had. Psychosis and Rey Mysterio. You're not going to get a bad match between them two because they went to the same wrestling school when they were younger, so they knew each other's styles and they just knew how to put on a clinic. And that match, WCW Rey Mysterio, you're never going to get a bad match.
Never.
At that time, he's still good now, even though he's a lot older. But at that time, he was at his prime. He was probably like 22, maybe even younger than that. And he was just the high risk maneuvers, the Frankensteiner, the Hunikarata. It actually was. They always said a Frankensteiner converted, and Bobby Heenan's like, "What did you just say? I have no idea what you said, Mike Tenay." Just making fun of him, but. There's some great spots in that match, and I like Psychosis too. And
no, same.
It's crazy that I know you've watched this, Grande, the rise and fall of ECW. They were in. Heyman always says that Bischoff stole the cruiserweights from him, and Bischoff was smart to do it because a match like this on your card, that's money right there, and it's going to have people's eyes on your promotion.
Yes, and it's a perfect opening match. Like, it's a perfect, all right, what do we got? Let's set the pace for the night. And it's so quick pace and it's so thorough. These guys had great chemistry. And I think that's a big thing that ECW was great with, was being so well-rounded. I mean, they had their hardcore matches, which was what they were really known for, but why not have some cruiserweight wrestling? Why not have some tag wrestling? Why not have some technical mat wrestling and then a beast versus beast, kind of monster clashing with monster type of match? And Bischoff saw really how Paulie was running that business, and Paulie unfortunately didn't have the money to really put it on a grand level like Eric Bischoff did. Bischoff was really working off of billionaire Ted, of course.
Yeah.
Ted Turner and his blank checkbook, and he could bring these guys in and say, hey, 15 minutes. And I think one thing that's smart with Bischoff and that he did follow with what Paul Lee did was giving these guys the creative freedom to go out there and wrestle the match they wanted to wrestle. I think WWE is far more micromanaged with what's going to be going on in the ring and the finish and stuff like that. But for Bischoff to let these two guys just go out there and paint on a canvas, and they just have one of the best matches. To me, it's a match of the year candidate of 1996. It is that fucking good of a match. To me, it's right up there with Michaels and Mankind at Mind Games of that same year. It's a great friggin' match.
I believe, I'm not sure if it was the same year, but I know we've watched this match together. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc. I don't know if that was 96 or 97, but that match was on par with Psychosis and Rey Mysterio. It was just the spots, the Hunikarata off the apron onto the floor. I forgot the name of the move that Psychosis did. It was like a back pot. What was this? Yeah, he did a senton, and not to the ring. Rey Mysterio was on the floor, and he just got so much height and just ate shit at the ground. I'm like, how did he not blow out both of his ACLs and everything like that? And how is Rey Mysterio's sternum still intact?
Yeah, dude, and it looked like it took the wind out of both of them. Like,
yeah,
you got a grown man jumping off the top, outside of the ring, landing, and just like landing on you, number one, and the other guy just got all the wind taken out of you. But again, it never loses that fast pace, and I think that's the brilliance of starting your night with a match like this. And WWE used to do stuff like this. Now, not so much. Now it's just like, I don't know what their direction is when it comes to structuring a card. But to me, putting these two guys at the top of the card, it's just a great move. We have a couple comments here. I remember WWE Family Feud episode. I think Mysterio was 21. Psychosis was 25. Okay.
I was close. I said 22. So they were both still very young. And Psychosis was sneakily a lot. He's a big dude for a cruiserweight. He's very tall. I mean, Rey Mysterio is very short, but like granted, Psychosis might have been around like my height, like 5'10", 5'11". So he just looked so much bigger in comparison to him. And the finish of it was great too.
Yeah, no, the finish was fucking wild. So he's like on the top,
He was putting him
and
like a razor's edge, kind of.
yeah, he's going for the razor's edge, and then pushes off, and then counter to a Hurricane Rana, almost like a pile driver. The guy lands on his fucking head for the 1-2-3. I mean, just holy shit! Like, what a crazy fucking spot. Something that they wouldn't hardly really attempt to do anymore. I feel
No,
like.
never, never. They would not do that. If anything, they would be criticized for it being too unsafe. And granted, there could be repercussions for doing that spot. But when you have two professionals like that know each other, let them go out and put down, like, let them have a phenomenal match.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing too. Like you were saying with safety, it's like, yeah, I do. Do I think sometimes the business and wrestlers go too far? Sure, but I do think that at the same time, it's like if we are professionals, if we do trust each other, and at a big pay per view, and you have two guys that are starting the night, I think from a talent standpoint, you have to take chances.
Oh, 100%.
Like, okay, Hogan's established. We know that. Flair's established. You don't need to see Flair doing that. You don't need to see Hulkster doing that. But for two up and coming young guys in their early 20s, or I guess Psycho's 25, whatever, they got to take a chance. They've got to, if they want to be remembered, if they want to be on the next show and featured prominently, you have to take chances. And these two guys took every single chance in the world that they could take, and some without using weapons.
One thing, what you said about when you brought up Hogan, what frustrated me about WCW at this time and the whole time is that there you have a match of the year going on, and they just keep referencing back to Hogan and Macho Man and this and that, like Mike Schiavone, Tony Schiavone. When I say Mike Schiavone, I know a kid, Mike Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was saying, "Oh, bringing up this." I'm like, you can bring that up after the match when they go into the back, when they pan over to Mean Gene and they're talking about that. Talk about the wrestling that's going on in the ring at that time. That's where WCW was faulty, because they just wanted to put over the other talent when you have this freaking masterpiece in front of you.
Yeah, and this is to me the best match of the night, and all they could really talk about on commentary was, oh, that was a great maneuver. Oh, but later tonight, the Outsiders. I'm like, why are you talking about your main event now? Like, I get it, you want to promote everything, and I think there's a time to do that at the start of the show tonight. And you read off some of the most prominent matches featured. You don't do it during the opening match. It's disrespectful to the talent and what they're trying to do.
You already bought the pay-per-view.
Trying to tell, and I just, I WCW was notorious with doing that, and trust me, WWE has done a ton too. I'm not trying to give you the pass, but I do think that was a big reason as to why WCW years later would fold, is because they really only saw the main event as the only thing to promote. But I think when you had these two guys putting on the match that they had, I would have promoted this at the wazoo too, and I would have put more of a storyline behind this. This is, at the end of the day, this was really a storyless match. Like, it had no, precursor coming in. It was just, these are two good workers. They're going to go out there, put on a great match. And, it's I think a great match, like a perfect match. But imagine if, these two actually had a story and were prominent, later in the night. And proof in the pudding, Rey Mysterio went on to be a world champion, a multi-time world champion in the WWE. So Vince understood where that money comes from, and all the marketing ploys of, oh, let's fucking sell these little masks for children.
Yeah, for the kids and everything.
It's a gold.
It got over.
And Dusty Rhodes says this, and I believe this wholeheartedly in his book. He said that the biggest guy draws people in the seats. It doesn't matter how big the guy really is. The biggest guy draws money. Yeah. Rey Mysterio, even though he wasn't the biggest guy, he drew a lot of children to the arena, and the whole psychology of Rey Mysterio is the tiny guy. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can grow up and do something like that.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
What I think the whole appeal of Rey Mysterio is for a child. And when I was a kid, I thought the same thing. I was like,
I love Rey Mysterio.
To overcome the odds. I mean, undoubtedly Hall of Famer wrestler.
Oh, first ballot, no question.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best ever, if not the best.
Yeah. Just that's cruiserweight best, just one of the best wrestlers in general. And I got to give Mike Tenay credit. He knew the maneuvers that were going on in that match. So he had his wrestling background on par for that match. He knew everything that they were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. John Landry says LMFAO, Mike Shiv. So I guess he knows.
He beat up Mike Shiv in 10th grade.
We got a question from James Moss. Which is your favorite Nintendo 64, WWF, WCW, or NWO game?
Oh, that's a good question. My favorite one. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head. He'll definitely know it. It's a N64 game, and it has Raven, Goldberg, Hulk Hogan on it. I don't know if it off the top of my head, but that's my favorite one. I used to play it at my buddy's house. I don't know if it off the top of my head. I can definitely Google it and find out. But my favorite WW, I guess it would be WWE, is SmackDown Here Comes the Pain with Brock Lesnar on the front. That's my favorite one of all time.
That's one I would rent at the old Hollywood Video or game. Do you remember Game Crazy?
That
was connected. Like people forget
connected to Hollywood Video.
Yeah, it was connected. It was like instead of GameStop, it was Game Crazy. At this green like.
They had one in my town.
It was so fucking cool. Yeah, no, I would rent that game from there a lot. Also, WWF Warzone '98 for the PS1. I would rent that a lot. How you gonna quote Dusty and not doing the voice? Oh, I'll do the voice. Baby, let me tell you something. The biggest man, daddy, he's gonna put names in the seats. He's gonna sell out arenas all over the American Civic Center. Ric Flair, I'm gonna take you 60 minutes to Broadway, daddy. I'm gonna take the world title off of you, baby. Let me tell you something. My son Cody, he's gonna be the next big thing, daddy.
I'm a son of a plumber.
I'm a son of a plumber, mama. I'm tonight. I'm gonna take on Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. I'm gonna hit him with the bionic elbow, daddy. I love Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes is on commentary on this show.
Yeah, he is. It was a 5-man commentary team. That's something we didn't even. It was Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain, Mike Tenay. They had Dusty Rhodes, and there was one other person on it as well. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
I have the tab up here. Maybe this will tell me. But yeah,
it was 5 people on. Yeah.
Oh no, it was just 4. It was Heenan, Rhodes, Schiavone, and Tenay.
Okay, so it was 4.
And then Mean Gene was one of the interviewers. Michael Buffer, one of the ring announcers, who I know this is unpopular opinion. I like him more than his brother.
I like Michael Buffer too.
I told you that when we were watching it. I was like, dude, nobody's going to like that. But James Moss remembers Game Crazy. Dude, yeah, saying that was awesome. And AJ says, yes, like my Dusty impersonation. Dude, yeah, no, I love the American Dream. And it was fun to hear him on commentary. Like
it was.
He definitely had some great calls, especially the main event. One of the calls, it's just like, it's something that just like kind of makes you like, wow, like this is a big fucking deal, man. Love Dusty. But yeah, that was the first match. Really, really love that match. Then we had a Carson City Silver Dollar on a pole match when John Tenta took on Big Bubba with Jimmy Hart. Tell us about WCW stipulation matches and why you love them, because I know
on a pole match. On a pole match before the Vince Russo days too.
Yes, true.
Honestly, we went into this match thinking it was going to suck, and it honestly was not that bad.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
It was not that bad. John Tento, I think, was like 30 at this point, and he looked like he was fucking 90. He was just so out of shape. He had the receding hairline, ponytail in the back, everything like that. He just looked like a truck driver slob that somehow got a job.
He looked like one of the Godwins, but like by accident. Yeah. Like if he was 30 years old, I didn't know he was 30 years old.
He was young when he was Earthquake, when he was going against Hulk Hogan, and that was only, I think, in 91. He was young at that point, so he couldn't have been too much older at that.
He was, and that Earthquake character against Hulk, I believe that was 1990, SummerSlam 1990 was that feud?
Yeah, either 90 or 91.
Great fucking feud. Like, the promos were good, and the gimmick was, you know, if he fucking lands his finish, you were done. Like, it was like a Mark Henry type of heel, like, the pain and like nobody could kick out, and that was a good Hulk Hogan opponent that like never gets mentioned because Hulk didn't have the belt.
I liked him. He was a good worker then. He looked really out of shape here, but the funniest part of it is that you have 2 pretty much super heavyweights, and then if you watch the match, the silver dollars on the pole are like, it's like 20 freaking feet up in the air. Nobody can reach it. They can't climb up the pole, or it's gonna snap and someone's gonna break their neck. It was crazy.
And fucking, I believe Jimmy Hart like had to climb the fucking.
Jimmy Hart did climb it. Yep, he had to climb up the pole. Yeah, I think Jimmy Hart's climbing up the pole, and he doesn't realize that Tenta slams Big Bubba, and he climbs up, grabs the silver dollars, and drops down. And you see John Tenta, and Jimmy Hart like is sliding down the pole. He gets the silver dollars, and then whacks Big Bubba, aka the Big Boss Man, right in the face. 1, 2, 3, and that's your match. But it was for two super heavyweights in a gimmicky match, it wasn't the worst match on the card.
No, not at all. And honestly, like it went about almost 10 minutes. Like wasn't a lot. Like I don't know. It was fine for what it was. And I remember when it came on, we both looked at each other and we saw fucking how bad John Tenta looked. I was like,
oh, he looked horrible.
This guy looks like he's been fucking left out in the sun too long. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
He looked really bad, man. He
looked horrible. I don't think he was in the company for too much longer after that. But it was not a bad match.
No, honestly, not a bad match. I would give it a pass for sure. And props to Jimmy Hart for climbing the pole and getting the silver dollars down. I thought that was really funny. James Moss asks, what was your favorite NES wrestling game? I never really played NES. That was really before my time.
Me either. I have an NES. I bought a Retron, which is it's an NES and a Super Nintendo converter, but I didn't have any wrestling games. I would have to ask my dad because he's a very big gamer, so I'd have to go through his collection to see which games he has because we have a bunch, but I don't know off the top of my head for NES.
Yeah, no, me neither. I'm a big PlayStation guy. I know you're.
NES, I only really played Mario and like Duck Hunt and then like Streets of Rampage and stuff like that. That was a couple games that I liked.
Yeah, if I ever played the NES, it was at somebody else's house. I never had.
Yeah, I have one, but it's in the attic.
Oh shit, yeah, that's collecting dust. But the next match, and this was a cool one, a taped fist Lord of the Ring match.
Oh my god!
Stipulations. It was DDP, Diamond Dallas Page versus the legendary Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Absolutely love him. What'd you think of this match, man?
I love DDP. This was before DDP was over, so that's why he's the third match on the card on a pretty much a dumb gimmicky match. And I do like gimmicky match, but it was okay with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but it wasn't. I thought it was going to be worse than it really was too. It wasn't horrible. You know what you're going to get with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. It's going to be him landing a big fist, this and that, going ho to the crowd, everything like that, and it was okay. I like Diamond Dallas's Page, his work later. I was never a big Hacksaw guy, and I'll give it probably like a 5 out of 10, maybe a 4 out of 10, 4.5.
Yeah, it's middle of the road. It's not the worst thing. This is your classic. We want to get our up-and-coming heel over. Let's have him go over an old-school babyface match. And what's funny was that most of the matches, Jim Duggan just beating the shit out of DDP.
Yeah.
And then DDP hits his finish out of nowhere, gets a quick pinfall. Jim Duggan doesn't sell it after the 3 count. He just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
The taped fist, and I'm just like, what the fuck? But they do that a lot. WWE does that a lot too, where it's like, okay, we'll feed him an older guy that's established, and then holy shit, he beat Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah,
holy shit, he beat this right. Like they do that a lot with Randy Orton now. Like,
100%.
Beat Randy Orton. I'm like, who the fuck hasn't beat Randy Orton at this point, though?
That's true, yeah.
But I do think that psychology is smart because no matter what, tomorrow morning, Randy Orton is still established. Jim Duggan is still established. But at the same time, you establish your up-and-comer in DDP. And DDP, I don't believe he started too young when it comes to, like, his wrestling.
No.
I know in managing he was doing it young, but he was, like, what, a 34-year-old rookie? I think that's
he was. He was managing the Diamond Stud, which a.k.a. Razor Ramon, a.k.a. Scott Hall. So he was just the manager. And this is, I just think, where his career started to, like, his wrestling aspect started getting big. And you had to have, like, you had to have the heel go over there and then have the baby face. Thank you. Sorry, I had to get another Coors Light.
Oh, hell yeah.
Have my brother grab one for me. You had to have the heel go over. Like you said, you had to have DDP, who was the up-and-coming rookie, even though he was older, win that match. And then you have the baby face appease the crowd, wrap up his fist, and then knock him out. And then the sell job by DDP at the end was phenomenal.
He sold his ass off for Jim Duggan.
He did.
That's the thing I love about DDP. As just not even just as a wrestler, but as a person, like he really has respect for the art, and like he's not a guy that's going to disrespect. And I know a lot of people give him shit over the David Arquette stuff, and I don't believe that was all Russo. Like,
oh yeah, you cannot put that on DDP. That is not DDP's fault at all. That is Vince Russo. That just watch a Jim Cornette rant on Vince Russo, and you already know what we're talking about.
Vince Russo, I hate you and your Howard the Moon children. Mark Madden, you fat cottage cheese. Jim Cornette.
I bought him Wendy's.
Mark Madden, I bought you Wendy's, you fat cow. Oh my god, his shoot interviews are the funniest.
Phenomenal. The
I
best.
love the Santino where he slapped the shit out of Santino.
Yeah.
Morella.
I was never a Santino guy, so he probably got what was coming.
I fucking can't stand it. Yeah, no, me neither. I'm Team Cornette like nine
Oh,
times.
100%. I love corny.
Me too. But DDP really, I mean, he had a respect for the craft. And even though he was 34 years old and he was the heel and he's supposed to be the one that's being put over, he still sold his ass off for a veteran. And I think that in the back is going to gain a lot of respect. Like, hey, this is supposed to be his moment, but he still showed that the other guy still has something. And I think a lot of, the talent now, they need that kind of mentality and psychology when, entering the wrestling business. I think it's a big hurdle people have to get over, that ego hurdle, and DDP doesn't have that. And
no, he never had that.
Sure enough, years later, world champion.
At that point in WCW, that's when Billionaire Ted, aka Eric Bischoff, as well, was signing all the talent from WWF, and they went over there and they wanted the money, but they also didn't want to give up their spots. They didn't want to do that, so that's why it was probably in the back said, "Hey, I'll put you over, but I'm going to no sell you, and I'm gonna ham hock you and knock you out, but I'm still going to give you that W on paper." And DDP is just like, I got to earn my dues and everything like that, so I'll do the job for you there.
Yeah, totally, and it paid off. I mean, the guy was over. I mean, Karl Malone, I believe.
Oh my God!
Was at what the fuck? What team was Karl Malone on? I'm drawing.
The Utah Jazz.
Utah Jazz. So he was at a game and sitting not courtside but close enough, and fucking Jazz blew him out and fucking Karl Malone threw it up. And he was like, no way. And DDP's agent was sitting next to him. He was like, get him to do that again. he was like, all right. And fucking Karl Malone did it again. And that's how they got Karl Malone to do the match with him and DDP against Hogan and Rodman. So stuff like that, like it's so crazy how over the guy got. I mean, he got over one of the best players in the NBA.
He won a lawsuit against Jay-Z for throwing up this. Yeah. He won a lawsuit because Jay-Z started throwing it up years later, and DDP's like, go to WCW 1996. I'm throwing up the Diamond Cutter.
He's got life-changing yoga too, apparently.
Yeah,
that I know.
Hey, he saved Jake the Snake's life and Scott Hall's life. Shouts out DDP. He's a great wrestler and a great person at heart as well.
Yeah, no, long live DDP. Absolutely love the dude. And hats off to Jim Duggan for fucking going out there and putting the young talent
Jim Duggan was still I think he was in WCW till it folded too.
Yeah, no, he was. And after John Tenta for some reason goes over Big Bubba, I was glad to see a younger up and comer get the W.
Yeah,
over the vet. Next match. Oh my gosh. This was the double dog collar match.
Oh my God.
These matches don't have enough fucking gimmicks. I don't know. The Nasty Boys, who fucking suck, versus Public Enemy, Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge. Tell me about your hate for the Nasty Boys, because I know me and you both hate the fucking
Nasty Boys. Fucking suck. They were never good. There were nothing good about them. I hate the Nasty Boys. I haven't watched enough of their matches because I don't like them. I don't like their gimmick. They were just two fat idiots that couldn't wrestle for shit. And they just somehow got over. Like, I don't even know if they really even got over. They were just there.
You were telling me when we were watching this, and this is much more interesting than this fucking match. You were telling me the story about them like offending Miss Elizabeth.
Oh my God. It was it was one of the Nasty Boys. I don't remember which one it was, but he farted in the locker room with Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth in there. And apparently it was such a grotesque fart that Macho Man put Miss Elizabeth on a plane and sent her back to the house. And McMahon walks into the back room and he's like, into the locker room. He's like, where's Elizabeth? We need her. And Macho Man, I sent her back. They offended her. The Nasty Boys, they were nasty. Sent her back, and Vince walks up to one of the Nasty Boys. I can't think of their names off the top of my head. I looked it up, but he's like
Brian Knobbs and fucking Jerry Sags.
Jerry Sags. I think it was Jerry Sags that did it. And he walks up to Jerry Sags and says, "We need Elizabeth back here. Fork up your money, and you're paying for her flight back." So Jerry Sags got fined, like, it wasn't fined, but he had to pay for like that day flight to bring Miss Elizabeth back, and he got fined like $5,000 on top of it because he just couldn't hold his wind around her. They suck. They're horrible, man.
Yeah, they were fucking horrible. And like the thing I always like remember about them. The one match that stands out in my mind is the WrestleMania 7 match with them against the Hart Foundation. And that was the Hart Foundation swan song. Vince said that like you're gonna put a team over WrestleMania, we're gonna split you up. We want Brett to be, I think the idea was to have them both be single main event guys.
Grande was a good wrestler as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But of course, the team they fucking put over at the WrestleMania was the Nasty Boys, and somehow they carried them to a decent match. But the Nasty Boys fucking
Keyword carried, because
yeah.
they can't do anything,
and that's a lot of fucking fat.
Yeah,
fucking carry.
There's a lot of fat in that match because the freaking Public Enemy Nasty Boys beat up Ken Shamrock. Yeah, I did see that, Tim. They did beat up Ken Shamrock. Ham Hocks.
The Ham Hocks, Bash at the Beach, to come back. That would be a fun idea to
bring
the pay-per-view back. I would be down for that. But yeah, the double dog collar match. It was
just all around the arena match. They were freaking Rocco Rocks getting pulled off of lifeguard stands, and fucking Brian Knobbs is hitting people with surfboards and all that crap. The best thing is when Rocco Rock got pulled off the top rope and couldn't go through the table, and he was a kidney shot to the back, and he looked like he was in so much pain.
Dude, that was like, and it made no sense. I mean, it's a big dude, gimmick table, landed dead center of it off the top rope, and that thing did not budge. He just saw him like land. He was like, "Oh shit!" and just like goes and hits them down. I'm like, "Holy shit!" But not the greatest thing. But I don't blame Public Enemy at all. Like Public Enemy probably did the best they could to carry them, and they tried. I mean, they fucking tried. I mean, like, let's throw the lifeguard chair in this. Let's do the surfboards, and I like wrestling where they use the atmosphere around them. Like me and you love the Over the Edge 98 match with Mick Foley, who was wrestling as Dude Love, and Steve Austin.
Oh, like, yes, phenomenal
using
match.
The cars and
back body drops and just choke slams through the table and all that. It's like just using all the elements around you and everything like that. That's a match from earlier when we were talking about. That's another match that made me fall in love with pro wrestling, because I love Stone Cold and I love Mick Foley, Long Island represent. And that was a great match as well. I'd rather talk about that match than the Nasty Boys and fucking in Public Enemy. But Public Enemy wasn't too bad in ECW. I think they went to WWE for a cup of coffee, and then the APA beat the shit out of them. So yeah, they fucked them up on Heat really bad one night. But the finish of the match was kind of crappy. What was it? They pulled out the dog collar and they Irish whipped. I think it was Johnny Grunge into it. And that was the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, kind of iffy. Like, not the.
It wasn't the worst match on the card, though. That's saying that it wasn't the worst match on the card.
There was a few of these where, like, I remember, like, we were on the train going to the Mets game, and I'm looking at the card, I'm like, man, like, I don't know about this. And then we sat down, watched it, and every single time, aside from like one, I was like, I don't know about this, and it turned out like okay, So.
You know what was good about that match? The double box. They had the two action going on at one time. They had the split screen kind of thing,
like this, like how we are right now. Which was
exactly.
Well done. They filmed it pretty good. They
did
try. It's just the Nasty Boys are just so shitty. Like
they were winded 5 minutes in the match.
Didn't the Nasty Boys beat the shit out of those guys in this one? On this one. I mean, they won the match. I don't know if they really. It was like back and forth enough. I don't know.
The Nasty Boys seemed like they were kind of like I don't know what the word is, like not sandbagging. Is that the word? Like when they're just like they're roughing them up, like
leaguing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. People didn't like people didn't like Public Enemy because they thought they had an attitude because they were so big in ECW and they came over and they thought they would be as popular in these other promotions as they were in ECW.
Here's one for you. Why don't you think that was? Why do you think they were popular in ECW, not popular when they got the mainstream?
People were already established. They didn't want people taking over their spotlight. That's also like when Jericho came from WCW and went over to WWE. He kind of man, I love me some Jericho, but they didn't like him. They didn't like the new people coming over from other companies and everything like that. And I guess they just didn't want to give up their spot too. So
I think too, a part of it, like at least with them, is the whole the grunge and the gimmick. I don't think that works for WCW.
No,
and it's another thing when you look at a guy like later in his career, Mike Awesome, when he left ECW. He like worked in ECW. The guy was fucking over.
Oh,
And I know personally he was a piece of shit from what people.
but he was a great worker.
He could fucking put on a great show. I mean, the guy really. But when they turned him into that '70s guy in fucking WCW,
That chick lover.
Like, what
Horrible.
the fuck? Like, what are you doing? He's over for this reason. Like, it makes no sense. He was over for reason A, and it was just like when WCW got him, it was like, oh, let's make him reason B now. Let's try to do this. Like, I don't get that. I really don't.
Work with what you got. Work with what got them over in the particular company and run with it. Then you have money. Don't turn him into fat chick 70s lover Mike Awesome who came out in a fucking hippie bus. It was horrible.
Yeah. It was horrible, and they didn't have him do the same spots, jumping over the top, and
they had him come out and kendo stick. No, not kendo stick. He stole Kevin Nash's crutch and beat the crap out of him, and then you turn him into that. He came over and took down one of the biggest faces of the company at that point, and you just ran him into the toilet. Shame on WCW. That was in 2000, so that was a sinking ship. That was Vince Russo. That was a sinking ship at that point, but Mike Awesome was phenomenal. His matches with Masato Tanaka and Taz and just all these great matches in ECW. And you made a mockery of him.
Yeah, and it's a shame. And I know Mike Awesome, he probably didn't care. He sold out. I mean, he wanted.
Oh, he sold out 100%. He saw, I'm going to make $750,000 this year, so let me sign with WCW.
Yeah, I'll come out of a fucking hippie bus. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't care.
$50K a year, fucking, I will be the best 70s guy.
As long as that direct deposit hits, I'm doing whatever.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. Like, I think that's where Paul Lee was way more smarter than Bish is, and I guess later on, you know, it's the Kevin Sullivan booking days and everybody and their mother. But Nash had the fucking book at one point. I mean, everybody and their mother was a booker in WCW trying to right the ship. Even fucking years before this, Jim Hurd, who was
oh my god, and that's the reason that Ric Flair left and went to WWF.
Yeah, because he wanted to make Ric Flair like a
Spartacus.
Spartacus, that's right. Yeah.
He wanted to shave his head and put him in a freaking whatever gear and call him Spartacus. And Flair said, not happening. And went to WWF with the title, with the big gold belt.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I fucking absolutely bizarre. Like, I don't get why would you ever try to change Ric Flair? I mean, the guy's fucking over. John Landry says, JBL when he fucked up the blue meanie. Oh my God. That was crazy, man.
Yeah, that was bad. And did you ever see, Tim, the chair shot that Steven Richards gave JBL on an episode of SmackDown after that for repercussion? It's one of the hardest chair shots you'll ever see in your entire life.
I know Joey Styles knocked JBL the fuck out.
That's funny.
Backstage, yeah, like he was mouthing off to him, and fucking Joey Styles turned around, one punch, knocked him right the fuck out.
And Grunge Rock, Nirvana's good. I'll give you Alice's Chains too.
Grunge Rock I'm so iffy on. There's some Grunge Rock I like, some Grunge Rock I'm just like, like this is.
You can't hate on Nirvana. Not some of it sucked, but Nirvana is a classic. Shouts out John Schwartz for that one.
Oh yeah, that's his favorite band ever.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that was the Nasty Boys defeating Public Enemy in the double dog collar match.
That's a 3 out of 10 in my books.
Yeah, no, that was a shitty match, even though I expected it to be worse. Next match was actually a really welcome surprise. Another match I didn't think would be worth a shit. Dean Malenko versus Disco Inferno for the WCW Cruiserweight title.
That surprise! I'm not a Disco Inferno fan. I don't know why Disco died in the freaking 80s. I don't know why they had a Disco character in 1996.
Him and Mike Awesome, that 70s guy. What was their obsession with fucking Disco?
I don't know. I think Bischoff or Bischoff at that point like Disco still or something like that. So I have no idea. But that was the man of 1,000 holds, the Iceman. I got him right there.
Yes.
The man of 1,000 holds. He's gonna put a classic wrestling match. And Malenko for how do you know how long that match ran? I think, do you have it on there?
It ran like 12 minutes.
I'd say for about 7 to 8 minutes, Malenko was just beating the crap out of Disco Inferno. He was just selling, just beating him. And then Disco Inferno made a good comeback and showed some actual decent wrestling skills.
Yeah, and that's what I think was the highlight of this match for me was because I know Dean Malenko's going to go out there and put on a clinic every time. But
Yeah.
Disco Inferno really opened my eyes. I was like, this is going to be one of your classic. I'm the pussy heel. I'm going to run away. I'm going to run away. I'm going to get a cheap shot here and there. It wasn't that at all. This was really
No.
a mano-a-mano wrestling match. It was like the babyface that dominated early, but then the heel got some stuff in, but didn't really cheat. I mean, he
No, he didn't cheat at all.
I liked the psychology. I like when a up and coming heel doesn't resort to those tactics. And even though he lost, it still shows that he's a tough son of a bitch and he can hold his own with a Dean Malenko. He may not have won, but it's a victory in defeat because he showed he can go toe to toe with him for 10, 12 minutes. I thought that was a really good match. And honestly, I agree with you. I never thought much of Disco Inferno, but this match, I respect him a lot more now. I really do.
Watching this match back, because I've watched so much like 1999 to like 2001 WCW. Disco was just an annoying pest on your screen, and he was super heely, like just doing all this crap, and it's just like, man, I hate this guy. And to watch back years before that, to see him actually go out there and put out a good technical match with one of the greatest at his craft, Dean Malenko, was just it put a new perspective in this for Disco Inferno with me, because I watched his shoot interviews and he's just fucking annoying in his shoot interviews and everything like that. I'm like, I cannot stand this little pest. He's a weasel. Don't like him, but he actually impressed me with his wrestling skills there, and it was really, like as you said, it was very good wrestling psychology. You have the face get his stuff over. You have the heel make his comeback, but not cheat. He didn't cheat. There was no low blows. There was no feet on the ropes. There was none of that. It was just really good mano a mano.
Yeah, and that's very against the tradition. Like a lot of people, they want that standard where, the baby face has to make the dramatic comeback. But this, they kind of flipped psychology right over. It was just like, no, like have the heel make a little bit of a comeback and against this big bad wolf that is Dean Malenko. And I believe this was what Dean Malenko, a few months later, he would start feuding with Chris Jericho for the Cruiserweight title, I believe, right? Or was this around the time where he feuded Eddie? I'm not sure.
I think Grande went down.
I went down? I did? Really? My thing's still looking good. I'm connected to the internet. Oh, you went down. Uh-oh. Dan Kriegs went down. Can you all still hear me? Here, let me see. My thing went down. Anybody still here? They could tell me if is it my end or?
I think we're good.
Okay, you back? Can you hear me?
I think we're good now.
Yeah, I don't know if that was.
Yeah, I don't know. You were frozen for a second on mine.
I was like, I still saw the clock. It's just usually the clock above my head will stop if I lose connection, and it never stops. I don't know if it was me or you, but I asked the chat. I'm not sure. Nobody answered me though, so I don't know. Oh, can you hear me?
No? I can hear you. Yeah, it's like freezing a little bit for you right now. It's good right now though.
Oh, okay.
I might leave. I don't know if I should leave and come back.
No, you're good. You're good. It'll eventually correct itself. Mysterio won the title the next night from Malenko. I didn't know that. That's awesome. I don't know.
Hold on. I'm gonna. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. It's just a little delayed.
All right. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, it's just like lagging a little bit.
Yeah, you're both fine now. So
I'm gonna try to leave and come back.
No, you're good. You're good. If it does it again, then you can try it. But we'll try. Okay, never mind. But yeah, no, that this was a pretty decent match. To be honest, I was actually surprised how good of a match this was. But that's also really cool that Mysterio won the belt the next night. I didn't know that at all. I know that those guys played hot potato with it for a while. Like it was Jericho, Malenko. They did a thing where Malenko wore the mask and fucking attacked Jericho in the Battle Royal, and that cost Jericho the belt. And they did the Jericho conspiracy victim. I love that. And the Master of 1,000 Holds, and they did the thing with the list. That was great. Hold one, armbar. Great stuff. I gotta go now. Nice talking to you guys. Bye for now. Dude, James Moss, thanks for coming on the show, man. Appreciate it. Rock on. Have a great
You got
weekend.
me now, Grande. Is it okay?
You look great now. Yeah.
All right. I don't know. I don't know what happened. There was a little falter in the show, but you know what? The show must go on.
Oh, Tim pulling out one of your lines. Maybe you stole it from him. I don't know.
No, that's a yo. You're a jerk, Tim. Fuck you, man.
So it was
No, my shit was.
I don't know if it was.
My shit was connect. My shit is connected. I have a router booster right here at my feet. Maybe I tapped it or something like that. So
the sneeze, like you were saying before, with the fucking cable box.
yeah, literally. But we're good to go. I switched onto my other Wi-Fi now, so we should be good.
Yeah, AJ says I try to watch the day after pay-per-views, Raw and Nitro. After
that's a fact. Yeah,
that's a good idea. Yeah, like after WrestleMania, the Raw is always like interesting.
100%.
Here's a question for you, AJ, and I know we haven't got to the NWO stuff yet. I believe they waited a week until the NWO was on TV again, unless I'm completely crazy. I believe they waited a week. I think it wasn't until July the 15th that the NWO was on Nitro together. July the 8th, which would have been the day after the July 7th pay-per-view, they, for some reason, weren't on the show. I don't think. I could be wrong about that. If somebody wants to double-check me, by all means, feel free. But, yeah, that was the Cruiserweight title match. Good match. Honestly, I would give this like a solid.
Oh, you finished it off? Yeah, I think when he finished it with the Texas Cloverleaf, that was like a 7.5 out of 10 in my books.
Yeah, really surprisingly good match.
Not bad at all.
This one, and I have to mention Dave Meltzer, who I'm not a big Dave Meltzer guy, but Dave Meltzer, he gave this next match a negative 2.5 out of 5 stars. Is Steve Mongo McMichael with Queen Deborah, who's Queen Deborah in this? Yes, he's one of the fucking horsemen. I love. You're probably the only person in the world that has that shirt.
Mongo, baby.
Against fucking Joe Gomez. Who the fuck is Joe Gomez? We were like,
didn't even know who he was. I had to look him up while we were watching the pay-per-view. He was apparently in WCW for like 5 years. I had no idea who he was.
Me neither. No, I didn't. I was like, Joe Gomez. Like, it sounds like a fucking Mets AA Binghamton player or something.
Yeah, literally. It sounds like someone the Mets would have up this season with all the injuries they've had.
Yeah, like the seventh outfielder option. Like, can Joe Gomez play center? Can he? Can he fucking pitch?
We put Janesh Fargas against Steve Mongo McMichael.
Dude, I would cheer for Mr. Fargas all day long.
Yeah, they DFA'd him, unfortunately.
Yeah, what the fuck? They DFA'd McKinney too, and then the Dodgers picked him up. So
he's not bad. He had some big hits with the Mets.
He's gonna have some big hits in LA too, I think. If I was Atlanta, I would have got McKinney, man, just to stick it to the net. Because
100%.
He would have came around. Anybody the Mets drop always fucking fucks them. Like that's
that's facts.
Plastic. It's shocking when they don't. But Steve Mongo McMichael versus Joe Gomez here. I mean, not a bad match, but certainly not like, the worst match ever. Like Meltzer was saying. I don't know. I didn't think it was
the one thing about this match that was astonishing to me, that the fact that they let Mongo use a tombstone pile driver.
Bro, right? That was some crazy shit. Like,
it's just was. I didn't even know that was his finisher. That was just when he went for a tombstone. I'm like, this guy, Joe Gomez. I hope he does not end up paralyzed after this, because he actually did a good pile driver though. I'll give him that. It wasn't poorly executed, but Mongo was just horrible in the ring. I love me some Mongo though. Like he's freaking funny. 85 Bears. He won a championship with Jim McMahon and all that. Mike Ditka.
Yeah, that's right. The Refrigerator Perry, William the Refrigerator Perry. AJ Zitro's a diehard Chicago Bears fan. I know that. Could have been a cousin of mine, Joe Gomez. Yeah, no, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, no, I know you're a big Bears guy, so I don't know how he feels about Mongo, baby. I know Bongo was on the first night they did Nitro. He was on commentary.
Yeah, with his dog.
Yeah. Mongo, baby. Go Bears. Yeah, he's a big Bears fan. AJ, what do you think about Fields, man? What do you think? Is Fields going to bring you to the promised land? We know Trubisky's all out of whiskey. He's in Buffalo now. He's a fucking bust. Mitchell Trubisky. What an absolute fucking bust, man. I don't know. But
they could have been a good team with it. It kind of reminds me of like a little bit of the Jets in 2009 when they had Sanchez. If they had a better quarterback, the Bears defense is phenomenal. They had a good run game with Montgomery and everything like that, but you're one quarterback away from it.
that they were the team I think that should have signed Bell. Like when Bell left the Jets, I would have been like, let's get Bell because they really. I think they had fucking Cordero Patterson as their fucking.
Yeah, he won me a week in fantasy this year because he ran
That's
back a
right. That's
touchdown. Yeah, I
right.
won
He
by one
returned the
point.
punt.
Return.
Wow.
Yeah.
We were watching that and texting at the same because I was like, I needed Dalvin Cook to have a shitty night, and he did. We both won. That was such.
I needed Cordell Patterson to either run in a touchdown or I think he returned a kickoff for a touchdown and won me by 1 point.
I think that was the only touchdown the Bears scored. Too.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure.
Touchdown, which is so weird. Cordell Patterson, like people don't know, he was like a wide receiver his entire career. And
yeah,
it's like fuck it. All our running backs are hurt. Line them up in the backfield. You know, they probably should have been the team to fucking get Bell. I think they were the team that needed him the most, but maybe Bell made that choice. Fields will be played too soon and fucked up mentally and physically, in my opinion. I know how stupid this team can get. Well. Yeah, if anyone would know, it would be you. I think he's going to dazzle at first, and I think he'll run into the classic like rookie problems. I don't know. I think
I have a rookie quarterback coming too, so I have Zach Wilson that's going to be at the helm for me. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no, it's a transitional time now. You know, like Phillip Rivers is retired. I mean, the only two guys from yesteryear is Roethlisberger
Brady and
Brady.
Yeah.
You know, and then once those two guys go, I mean, it's a whole new ball game for
everybody. Breeze is gone too. They're gonna have Jameis Winston throwing the ball. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Do you think what's his name? Fucking
Taysom Hill.
Yeah. Do you think is it possible he starts?
He didn't look really too good on paper when he didn't look too good throwing the ball. He can run the ball. I don't know. I would use him more as a fullback or like a flea flicker. Like, I don't know, end around type guy, like plays like that, just like trick plays. He's a trick play guy. He reminds me of Brad Smith on the 2010 Jets. That's who he is.
Brad Smith, I remember that motherfucker. He returned a kickoff against the Steelers. I remember.
Yeah, he did one with one shoe on too.
Yeah, Rodgers too. Rodgers up in the air. Is he going to play for Green Bay? It doesn't seem like it. I don't know. Is Allen Robinson? Did he stay with Chicago or did he?
They franchise tagged him again.
Fuck. If I was him, man, I would hold out. That's crazy. He's
great.
And they had like Foles last year. They just couldn't decide what they wanted to do, but they still got in the playoffs somehow. Crazy.
Foles got hurt in that game that Cordell ran the touchdown back.
That's right. And they bring up my man Trubisky, who fucking
he's not worth a shit.
Yeah.
But it was Mongo and Joe Gomez. That match was, I don't know if it was -2 stars worthy, but it was not a good match. Mongo can sell though. His selling game is kind of funny.
This I would have had this be the squash of the night. Like if you're going to do a squash match, squash Joe Gomez. Like it's fine if you really try to get Mongo over as a monster heel. And like I don't know, they went like 6-7 minutes, so not really your classic squash match. Cool to see Mongo break up the pile driver, the tombstone pile driver, but
yeah. I didn't think that Joe Gomez was going to get a licking of offense, but he actually did get some offense in the match and stuff like that. And then Mongo when it was Mongo time, he just reversed something, put him into a pile driver, and it was a 1-2-3.
Yeah. So average match there. This next match I thought was a pretty good match. You had Ric Flair with Miss Elizabeth and Woman. May both of those women rest in peace. It's so sad that they're both gone. And he faced Conan for the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship. This was a really good match. I know we the promo before it where Ric Flair was singing La Cucaracha and shit like that.
Doing a little dance and stuff like that, La Cucaracha. And then
oh my God, man. Ric Flair was too fucking funny, man. He's like, Conan, you're going to do the La Cucaracha. I was like, oh my God, man, you never get away with this nowadays.
Yeah, and Woman's like, I'm going to take you into the back room, Mean Gene and all this. And Mean Gene's like, like getting all like spiced up. I love me some Mean. It's kind of crazy that in the backstage interview, you have Mean Gene, you have Woman, you have Miss Elizabeth, and you have Flair, and 3 out of the 4 of them are passed away now. It's really sad.
Horrible, man. And Liz and Woman especially, they're like should have like at least Gene, he lived to mid to late 80s. I think
he lived a full life. The rest of them, they both died way too young.
Nancy and Liz, I mean, it's so horrible how both of them went, you know, and I liked the whole gimmick though that they were doing here with Liz and Woman, where Liz, it was almost like the sugar and spice thing,
Yeah.
where Liz was sugar and then Woman was spice, and the woman would be really like sexually over the top, and then Liz was in her like little pink dress and shit. And I liked the psychology here of the heel and Ric Flair versus the babyface and Conan, the champion. They were going at it, and then each woman would do something to try to like intervene and help Flair. And I liked the whole like setup of this match. I thought this was a really fun Ric Flair match with a different stipulation thrown in of these two women kind of going back and forth, Conan getting some offense in, and then your classic run of the mill Ric Flair stuff, like throwing Ric Flair over the top rope, and
Yeah.
But this was a really fun match, I thought.
It was funny to see Conan and the attire he was wearing. He was wearing like a singlet with like some like tassels on it. And my Conan recollections is when he was in the NWO and the Wolf Pack, when he was wearing just jeans with his like with his baggy pants on. You see his boxers and like in like a guinea tee with the NWO on it. And it was just weird to see Conan like looking like I guess this was right when he came over from Mexico and stuff like that. So he was wearing his like Mexican attire, like his lucha libre attire. And it was a good match. I remember in one spot that Conan comes and does a front flip off the apron and hits into Flair and Elizabeth, and we were like, Liz ate shit. She was not supposed to get hit with that. I think that was a complete botch on both of their behalves. I don't know if it's Flair's fault, if it was Elizabeth's fault, if she was supposed to run to the right and she ran to the left instead. And Conan comes over and does a flip, a front flip, and just clean clock both of them. It was crazy.
It was funny. It was like not meant to be because Liz didn't sell it. Like Liz got right up and like scampered away.
Yeah.
It's just like if sometimes if a valet or a manager gets hit, like they sell it like crazy. Like she just got right up and ran away. I was like, okay, that wasn't supposed to happen,
No, they had a good wrestling match though, and it was just like as you said, it was good aspect. It was Flair being his usual heel self, having Woman interfere, then Liz interfere, talking to the ref when Conan should have got the pinfalls and everything like that. Just a classic Flair match.
Yes, classic Ric Flair match. Like the dirtiest player in the game, and style and profile, and the sugar and spice elements. Because a lot of the times it would just be Flair and one valet, whether it be Flair and Sherry Martel or Flair and
Fifi.
Fifi, yes, yep, sure. Like there's a ton of Flair valets, like over the years. Missy Hyatt, I even think at a time.
Yeah.
Like a ton. And then in WWF, it was Mr. Perfect and Heenan was like his managers. But I liked the use of doing two women here and having one of them be like, I'm so sweet. Like, let me distract the ref with my beauty while the woman chokes out Conan and Flair recovers. Like, I don't know. I like this. I agree with you. Your classic Ric Flair match, and Flair goes over here, which I thought was actually really cool too. Kind of a cool, like, and
it was good to
Conan,
see.
Yeah.
It's funny to see Conan put Flair in the figure four too. That was what was great about it. You see, he puts him in the figure four, and Flair is selling the shit out of it, like phenomenally. Yeah. And then he, like, as you said, you love it how you just flip over the figure four, and then all the pressure is put onto the other
pressure.
person.
Yes, I love that fucking thing, man.
The finish was great too because you have, I think it was Miss Elizabeth on one side is distracting the ref. And Conan just got up after a bump, and Woman comes in with her stiletto heel and bops Conan right in the head. Boom, knocks him out. Elizabeth finishes her distraction of the ref, and Flair comes over because he's got worn out from Conan, pins him 1, 2, 3, and he's the new champion.
Yeah, it was good, and you give Conan, or Conan the opportunity down the road to be like, listen, I got screwed by this, I got screwed by that. It gives the chance for the feud to continue. And neither guy's reputation's hurt because Conan still looked badass. I mean, he had interference from everybody and their fucking mother, and Flair is still Flair. It's just like, dude, it's the dirtiest player in the game. He stole another title. You gotta love it. That was really, really fun stuff. AJ Zeitzer says, met Mean Gene about a month and a half before he died. Very cool, very sad when he died. Yeah, that was so sad. I love Mean Gene. My buddy Brian actually met him just a few months before he passed too. Gene Okerlund, absolute all-time legend. And he was a part of the main event, like one of the best parts about the main event. The Flair flop, you gotta love it.
Yeah, man. The Flair flop off the top rope. It's just it's such a weird spot because it's literally the guy has to cup fucking Flair's balls and then grab him pretty much one finger in the butt and just throw him over. And it's just like it's such an uncomfortable spot. Like I don't know why Flair loved that spot, but pretty much I say 99 out of 100 Ric Flair matches that spot is in there.
Yeah, and the spot where you'll get thrown to the turnbuckle, flip over,
Where he does the flip over,
land, and then either eat the clothesline or duck it and go for like axe handle or cross body, stuff like that. Like Flair's matches are very similar in how they're executed, but I like how when you add the heel psychology into it, adding the two valets, it just added so much more to this match. And I think it takes a mid-card championship match and it makes it feel a little bit bigger. And I think that's the thing wrestling sorely misses nowadays too.
One thing from Flair that I like that Triple H incorporated into his repertoire is when he did when he would get thrown into the Irish whipped into the ropes, but he didn't do the front over the end. He would kind of jump up and throw himself over the top rope and grab his arm and then fall to the ground. I thought that was just cool that Triple H implemented that into his like arsenal. Like every match, he would do the same spot, but just a different variation of it. It just showed how much because Triple H always says that Flair was his inspiration and that he's the greatest wrestler of all time. And just to see some parts of Flair and Triple H, I'm not the biggest Triple H guy, but to see some parts of Flair and Triple H is where we talked about this. Randy Orton does it too. The knee drop into the little roll when they do that off the. Yes. And Triple H does that as well.
Yeah, and also Triple H, he does the Harley Race high knee. He does the tribute to Harley Race. I mean, he was probably a huge mark of the original Four Horsemen, and Flair and Harley Race are right at the center of that. I mean, I always love when Jim Ross goes, that's the classic Harley Race high knee from Triple H. He paying homage to him, and all the stuff with him and Flair and Evolution, and it's not. I think it's nice that wrestlers take away from people like Ric Flair, and even to this day, Ric Flair is so fucking over in popular culture. I mean, it's, and I think we can get off on a little Ric Flair tangent here. I mean, that's a guy that not only his work ethic, but his life ethic. And I don't whereas with Hulk Hogan, and all due respect to Hulk Hogan was playing a character. Like The Rock was playing a character. But Ric Flair, that's Ric Flair. That's really the guy. He really was the limousines and the beautiful women and the style and the profile and the
Rolexes and diamond rings and everything.
He was that gimmick. And I think that Dusty Rhodes always says this too, is the best wrestlers you'll ever see are themselves dialed up to 11. Ric Flair is really that himself, just dialed up to 11. It's a little bit crazier. It's a little bit louder. It's a little bit more intense. And I think that's the greatness of Ric Flair. And he was one of those guys too, that he could always make so much more out of the person he would work with. Like Nikita Koloff, not a guy you would expect to go out there and just be great, but he could just get a great match out of him. Same thing with, I remember towards the end of his run in WWF, he did a few with MVP. And I remember at the time MVP, it was like, oh yeah, he's a mid-card champion. What's he really doing? But he brought so much out of MVP, where I was like, wow, I think so much more of MVP because of what Flair was able to get out of him. He was a great guy for a promotion. But this is a fun question I want to ask you too. And I've heard this asked on a wrestling show before, but impromptu here. You're starting a promotion. You got the number one draft pick. Flair and Hogan are coming out of college. Who you draft the number one to start your promotion and why?
Flair.
Me too. I would go Flair too. But why?
Flair because technical work, Mike, and the audience that he's going to bring to you. Just everything about him. He is money. He just, I don't even know. I would just pick Flair all day because I'm a Flair mark. I already said this earlier. I love Flair. I just think he is just steps above what Hogan is. Hogan is, like you said, he's a character. He just became what Vince McMahon told him to be.
Yeah.
Flair, that's Flair. He doesn't need gimmicks. He doesn't need anything. He just goes out there and he is himself. He puts out a classic match not every single time, but he puts out great matches every single time he's out there, and he could take you from here and put you up there. Like that's just how he is.
I think, and I will even say that for Hogan's case too. I think both guys could really get a lot out of the talent they worked with. Like I always remember the Hogan Warrior match at WrestleMania 6. I mean, Warrior was not a great technical wrestler, but Hogan really carried him. And like,
Oh,
I don't
100%.
even know if Warrior at that time should have been in the ring with him. You know, he was over, but work wise and experience wise, Warrior was still very green.
Oh, 100%.
And but that's the thing with Ric Flair. I think that he could work with anybody. He knew when he had to lose, whereas Hogan was really tough to. That's not going to work for me, brother. You know, you got a lot of that. I think Ric Flair was a lot more willing to lose a big match if it made sense. He just didn't want his character diminished, and that's what guys like Jim Herd wanted to do. Was let's diminish this character, even though Jim Herd thought it was the greatest idea in the world. Ric Flair was like, no, you don't get it. You don't fucking touch
Yeah,
something that's already perfect.
my thing with Flair also is Flair has so many more classic matches, like his matches with Terry Funk, his matches with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, his matches with Macho Man, just he just put out great matches with whatever Dusty Rhodes. That's number one guy right there. He just puts out so many more. Yeah, there's the appeal to Hulk Hogan. It's just the name Hulk Hogan, but his like him versus Andre Giant. That's Andre the Giant. That's probably like one of the biggest match, if not the biggest match of all time. It wasn't that good of a match. It really wasn't. But
Yeah.
but what can you really do with Andre, who was like pretty much crippled at that point? So you get what you can get at the match. Yeah, but I don't know. Flair just put out. He was just such a better worker, such a better wrestler than Hogan, and you could just bring in new talent. And I feel like Flair would be more willing to work with that person. And if it came down to it, he would put them over, as opposed to Hogan be like, no, I want the strap.
Yeah. AJ agrees with us. Hogan was very selfish from what I've heard. Only had 4 moves as well. Flair 100%. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Ric Flair, like, and it's funny because like I know for a fact there will be people that would disagree and say Hogan's going to sell more tickets. Hogan's going to sell more merch. Hogan's going to get more butts in the seats. And you might be right on those three things. Like Hogan merchandise wise, I mean, everybody at that time had a Hulkamania shirt. Everybody.
Yeah.
It was that red and yellow, that the eat your vitamins, say your prayers. That gimmick was over. That was, and Vince to this day believes that's the babyface. Like Vince loves that shit. Whereas Ric Flair appealed much more to people our age, where it was like, you know, I'm going to win a wrestling match tonight. I'm going to go have sex with a fucking hot lady. I'm going to go do the whole thing right over again tomorrow morning because I'm the Nate Chabot. It was just, there was something so likable about him because he was unapologetically himself, you know? And that's why I think Ric Flair is one of the greats, if not the greatest of all time, is because he really was a total package. I mean, and again, you know, we were talking about Rey Mysterio not being the quote unquote biggest guy. Ric Flair, like marketability, like, okay, he's not jacked. He doesn't have a great figure. He's not the tallest guy. He's not the most handsome guy. He's had white hair since he came out of the fucking womb. But the guy was so marketable because he was real. You know, it's just, it's so fucking.
I love that.
It's the truth. It really is.
It is.
I love Ric Flair. I think it's cool that you have the jacket, right? Could you show that on here?
I can see if I have it up. I can see if I have it up here. I'll look real quick.
Yeah, Dan has this cool. It's called Chalk Line. That's where I got my White Castle jacket for anybody who watches my channel. And Dan has this awesome Ric Flair one. I don't even know, even if he has a picture of it. I don't know if it's in the room, but it's fly, man. It's so nice. One day I want to get a Bret Hart one because I'm a huge Bret the Hitman Hart fan. But Dan's is really cool. Chalkline, if you're into wrestling apparel, it's a lot of money. I will say that for everybody watching. Chalkline, it can run stupid money. I mean, I paid crazy money for that White Castle jacket. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, if you're definitely a fan of wrestling or a wrestler, or you know, they have some movie ones, stuff like that, it's definitely totally worth it.
Yeah, I don't have it up here. It's probably, I have so much clothes and so much stuff. It's probably in my basement right now, hanging up in my other. I have like a little like trunk full of like stuff like that. I have like hanging up like a spare closet type thing. So it's probably hanging up down there.
It's fire though. Like for people, you could even look it up on Chalkline if you guys are watching us live along here.
Oh, 100%.
It's a really cool jacket. So long live the Nature Boy Ric Flair. The
Yes, sir.
dirtiest player in the game. You gotta love him, man. 16-time world champion. Nobody's won more. Um, but yeah, that was a really good match. And then moving on into the next match, which I thought this was the worst match on the show. I think we agreed on this. This
Okay,
was
this is the
the
yep.
Giant and the Taskmaster, who was Kevin
Kevin
Sullivan,
Sullivan.
versus Arn Anderson and Chris Benoit. This match went 8 minutes. This was a shit show, in my opinion.
You
Easily
would
the worst match.
think you would think on paper when you have, I would say, Arn Anderson, Benoit, and the Giant as three. I don't. Kevin Sullivan's not the greatest. He was okay. He had some good. He had a feud with Chris Benoit, which in the real life was a real feud also. And we'll talk about that at the end of the match.
Yeah.
But it was just, it was clunky. It just, there was no flow to the match. It was just, it was really shitty. Like, it was horrible. Like, I didn't like anything about it. I didn't like the finish. There was no good technical wrestling in it. You would think that you have Arn Anderson, two of the four horsemen. There was going to be some like good, somewhat technical wrestling between like Arn and the Taskmaster or Benoit and the Taskmaster. But it was just a brawl the whole time. And just, it was really the worst match on the card.
Yeah, it was a sloppy brawl. They were trying to tell the story of, Kevin Sullivan.
Oh, this is the Dungeon of Doom. The Dungeon of Doom and the Four Horsemen were beefing at this point.
Yes. This was still the Dungeon of Doom. This is the very end of the Dungeon of Doom. And Kevin Sullivan was the weak link of the team because the Giant was the world champion at this point. The Giant was world champion. This is a bad way to showcase your world champion, if you ask me. But they were trying to sell the fact that Kevin Sullivan was going to be a brawler and fight and not be the weak link. And of course, it just, I don't know, it was just very sloppy. Like, if you want to tell that story, have him go toe to toe with a Benoit, and then holy shit, he just out wrestled Benoit. Like he just fucking out.
Not in a tag match.
And not in a tag match. Yeah, no, it should have been singles with maybe the Giant in his corner. I wouldn't involve the Giant unless the Giant is going over big. And it just was just like, I think that the Giant does. I believe they did go over, but it was just like,
the Giant and the Giant and the Taskmaster ended up winning the match, but it was like, what happened was Sullivan and Benoit just started brawling like outside the ring and like up the rampway and all this, and the two people that stayed in the ring were Arn and the Giant, and like, I don't know, it just like, it ended on the Giant giving Arn a choke slam 1, 2, 3, and like they're still brawling in the back, and I guess they made it like the facade to seem like they didn't realize the match was over or anything like that, because Sullivan and Benoit started walking back to the ring, and the Giant, it was weird because they were in a group together, a faction. And Giant just walks backstage and just walks past Kevin Sullivan after he's clearly visibly beaten up and everything like that. So Arn's just laying in the ring, and Benoit's just pummeling Sullivan, just stomping him out, beating the crap out of him. And then out of nowhere, Woman runs down and comes into the ring, and she's yelling at Benoit, "Stop, you're going to hurt him. Stop, you're going to hurt him," and everything like that. Ironically, because I think at that point, Woman was in a relationship with Kevin Sullivan.
Yes, they were in a relationship together at the time, and it's weird to have like hers telling him to stop because like, and this is surface. I don't honestly, I don't believe this is true. I know I got a lot of flack in our Wolfpack chat for this, but I don't. Kevin Sullivan, apparently, from what the woman has said, Nancy Benoit, of course, she said that he was beating her around this time. That's why she left him for Chris Benoit. And then, of course, that all ended horribly, too, with the whole Benoit incident. And, I mean, it's a horror story all around. I don't know if I believe the whole thing with her and Kevin Sullivan. I believe, honestly, that, like, I think her and Benoit were traveling on the road, and then I think they just probably got an attraction to each other. I think.
Yeah.
I think. And Kevin Sullivan denied it undoubtedly. And the weird thing about Kevin Sullivan is when he had the book later on in WCW, he's the guy that put the belt on Benoit.
Yeah, he put him over. He put him over Psycho Sid,
which is crazy because the whole boardroom was like, you're going to put a guy over who literally, like, your wife left you for him, and you're going to make him the world champion. He was like, honestly, I think Chris deserves it. He's the best worker. He completely removed, like, his own personal feelings.
His own tension and everything like that, like real-life tension.
I couldn't fucking do that, man. I don't know about
you.
Like,
Personal vendetta would play into it for me. If I'm the booker, I know it sounds terrible, but if someone stole my wife, I'm not putting the big gold belt on you, brother.
no, yeah, no. If anything, I'm gonna bury you. You know, like it's just weird, like very weird.
They put the belt on him, and I think it was 12 days later is when they showed up with the Radicals with Perry Saturn, Malenko, Guerrero, and Benoit on Raw. I
Yeah,
think it
it
was 12
wasn't too
days later.
long.
Benoit was champion for one single day because
Yeah,
their contracts ran up.
yeah, I know. It's fucking wild, man. How that whole thing, like, you know, what you do and whatever people do and don't believe, it's fucking wild that that all went down. It was weird to see, like, you know, her defend and be like, no, don't beat him up. I was just like, Jesus
I
Christ.
know it was eerie because it was a precursor.
It's eerie too because it's like you have a murderer in the ring with the person he murdered. Like,
Yeah,
holy shit, man. I
yeah,
don't know.
literally. Yeah, think of it. It was only it was 10 years earlier.
That's yeah, 10 years later, 2007. Yeah, so it's 10, 11 years later, you know, the whole tragedy happens probably to this day. The biggest from our generation, definitely. I mean, one of the craziest wrestling tragedies ever. It was eerie to see that like all three of them interacted in this.
Yeah, no, it
I
was
didn't know that.
very
I
eerie.
had no idea any of that was coming. I didn't know Nancy Benoit was gonna fucking run out. I was like, what the fuck? I was
Neither
like,
did I, man.
yeah,
It
it was
was
eerie.
that was the worst match on the card. And when you have the Nasty Boys and freaking Public Enemy on a card, that's kind of saying something. That was a 1.5 out of 10, maybe a 1 out of 10 on my book. It was
I would
just
go with a 1 out of 10 too. It was a piece of shit match. It had no memorability. Nobody got over, and the ending was just eerie. Like I was like not a good. I was just like, what the fuck?
yeah, I didn't like the way that ended. No, I mean at that time it was whatever, but like just looking back, watching the pay-per-view 25 years later, it's very very eerie.
Yeah, yeah, no, it has not aged well at all. I will say that. But now on to the main event, and I figure we could precurse this a little bit by discussing like what led up to this main event because this is one of the most, if not the most infamous main events in the history of the entire company, WCW. This was the Outsiders, of course, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and the mystery third man against the Macho Man Randy Savage, Stinger, and the total package, the total fucking shitty wrestler, Lex
Yeah,
Luger.
the
Um,
shit show.
so basically, what had happened around this time was that Scott Hall and Kevin Nash left WWE. And what happened was Scott Hall initially was not happy with how he was being booked and he wasn't happy with his pay. So he reached out as a like quote unquote free agent and said, hey, Bischoff, what will you give me? Bischoff said, hey, I'll give you like 400K. So 400K a year to work 150 days. That was the big appeal because WWE, you're working 300, maybe 300 plus, and you're on the road. You're away from your family, your kid. I believe, you know, Scott Hall had a young kid at the time. Kevin Nash had a 1-year-old baby at the time. So he was like, hey, half the days, more money. Where the fuck do I sign? So that's how
A
they got Scott
no-brainer.
Hall. Yeah. Fucking Scott Hall's agent, who is the most smartest person in this whole thing, got Scott Hall what's called a favored nations. And favored nations means nobody can come in after you and make more than you. They can only make equal or fucking less than you. They can't make more than you. So when he came in, because obviously their mentality was we have Hogan, we have Mach, we have Flair. Obviously, we're not going to pay anybody that kind of money. But mind you, Scott Hall is Razor Ramon. He was Intercontinental Champion WWF. Then he calls up his buddy Kevin Nash in real life. Hey, I'm the ex IC champ. You're the ex heavyweight champ. Whatever they give you, they've got to give me because I got the fucking favored nations. So they call Nash, and Nash said, Vince, match this or I'm gone. And Vince said, I can't do it. I have to pay Taker. I'd have to pay Brat. I can't do it. So then Nash and Hall both leave, and then they enter WCW. And I know you love this promo, the night where Scott Hall debuted from coming out of the crowd. And that whole promo. Tell me about, because I know you love that promo.
You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. That's phenomenal. I love Razor Ramon because he's just like he's just great. He just oozes machismo. But him coming out honestly in the denim jacket and the denim pants was just freaking funny. And he just walks into the ring when I think it was just two jobbers that were wrestling, and it was just before the internet generation. 1996, you had dial up and all this connection. If you got a phone call, your internet connection went out. I know I lived through that. So you get a phone call, you're doing chat on AIM, and your internet connection was going out and shit like that. So all the marks didn't really know that he even signed with WCW. So it's like, why is this WWE guy, WWF guy, showing up on Nitro right now?
Yeah,
and it was
the crowd marked out. Like the
yeah.
people, if you look at the people, they're like, holy shit, there he is. Crazy stuff. I love it.
And then the next week, I'm pretty sure it was the next week. Is that when Nash came out? It was literally.
I think it was 2 weeks later because the next week he was like, my friend's going to be here this week, and then Bischoff's like, well, you promised he'd be here. Where is he? And then fucking Nash, and he shows
Look
up.
Look at the adjective play. Such an idiot. I love Nash, but that was so bad. Like, you don't know anything about that. But them just coming out, they were just they were great in WWF. And there was just nothing more for them to do. Granted, Razor should have won the WWE Championship. It's a shame that he never won WCW Big Gold Belt
never won
either.
A world title.
It's a shame. I think he was either television champion or U.S. champion. He was probably both of them in WCW.
And IC champion in WWF.
Yeah, IC champion, tag team champion, and stuff like that. But it was just a shame that he never won the belt.
I agree.
And it was just I love everything about it.
They did the whole thing where they were like watching as spectators, like they had their tickets and security was around them, and
I got a ticket
for the big boys, and laughing at the security guard, and this whole thing was built as if this was really WWF invading WCW, and that's why I think it drew ratings.
100%.
People were like, holy fucking shit, what is going to happen here? And then the whole promise of there's going to be a third man, and then all of the people, even in the know, speculating who is this going to be? Is it going to be a third guy? Is Shawn Michaels going to leave the WWF? Is Triple H going to leave the WWF? Like, who's going to be the third man? And I know initially they wanted Hogan. Hogan said no. The Bischoff asked Hogan. He said, hey, I wanted it to be you. And then Hulk said to him, until you walk a mile in my red and yellow boots, you won't understand how important I am to children, and the babyface whole character the Hulk was. Then they wanted Stinger. Stinger said no way. And then I guess they kind of convinced Hulk Hogan to hop aboard the money train, brother.
Yeah, that's what it was. Hogan said, this is $1 million idea, and I'd be dumb not to jump on this ship.
Yeah, and I think that was the smartest thing he did, because you have this match here where Nash and Hall come out and everybody, who's the third man? Who's the third man? Hall's like, he's here and he's ready.
Yep.
I'm upset about that. And then you have Lex get taken out really early on in the match, of course.
He deserved to get he slept. He did. He goes for Nash was grabbing him in the corner because I think he went for a Stinger splash on was it onto Nash or was it onto Razor?
And then onto Razor, and then he just moves out of the way.
Yeah, or he did the splash, and he pulled Lex on top of him. Yes, and from the way it looked like he hit his head or something like that and just fell off the apron. Granted, what had to have happened, because it was 3-on-2 at that point, and you eliminate the worst worker in the match, which is Lex Luger, because you're not eliminating Stinger, you're not eliminating Mach, you're eliminating the total package, who's not the total package, because he fucking sucks. He's not a good worker. He's nothing. Lex Luger is horrible. The only reason he was there is because of Sting and his personal connection with him.
In this way, it's a lot easier to book because it's not a 3-on-2 handicap match.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's 2-on-2.
Now it's 2-on-2.
Whoever the third man is can come out when he wants to come out. And I thought the way they booked this was smart too, was because, the fans and everybody, they wanted to see these WWF guys get their asses beat. And I thought it was interesting on commentary how the WCW announcers really made it personal. Like, these outsiders and represent WCW, of course, Mach, Stinger, Lex, they all wore this face paint to show their colors.
Their unity.
The organization, the unity, yeah. And I like that. I like the whole us versus them. And it really felt like a main event where it was WCW versus WWF. And who is going to come out for Team WWF? And, of course, they work each other for about 15 minutes. And there's a double down spot. And, of course, you get the classic shot of Hogan walking down the ramp and go get him, Hulkster, go get him. They're all, and Heenan, whose side is he on?
Yeah.
Now? Of course, Hogan gets
Shivani's like, what do you mean by that? Like,
Don't say that. Don't say that. Of course, he drops the leg on Mach, and everybody in that fucking arena goes ape shit. I mean, they start throwing garbage in the ring, and to me, the greatest thing is Gene Okerlund's face. Gene Okerlund can't believe it. All I've been through with you, Hulk. You better have a great reason for this, and he's biting his fist. He can't believe it.
And his first statement is, "Listen, Mean Gene, if you want to hear what I have to say, you're gonna have to tell these people to shut up." And it's like starting it off with a bang. He's heel true and true right now.
Yeah, and as the garbage starts to fill up in the ring, Hogan uses that off the cuff. You know what this garbage in the ring represents, brother? It's the WCW fans. And all I've done for the charities, all I've done for the business. And you fans have the right to throw all this garbage at me. You fans can stick it, brother. And he goes off on one of the most truthful tangents ever of how that he really was the biggest thing in that great organization up north, and how he drew all the fans in, and how that, Hulk Hogan really was the biggest name in the 80s transferring into the 90s, and that he was given a blank check by Billionaire Ted. Billionaire Ted offered me movies, brother. He offered me millions, and he offered me the chance at being WCW's main event. And all this, it's just fucking great. It's classic Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it really is.
With the evil heel twin, sort of spin on it. And I think it is so fucking phenomenal. The line, I know you love the line about Bischoff.
Yo, me and you laughed our freaking asses off when he said, "If it wasn't for me, brother, Eric Bischoff would be selling meat out of a truck in Minneapolis."
Brother, let me tell you something. And I like he puts the two guys over. He goes, "I'm sick of the old guard. These two new guys, they're the new blood." And
the new blood
is the new world order of wrestling, brother. And in that one moment, he was able to really change the tone of professional wrestling for years to come. I know a lot of credit goes to ECW because they were counterculture, and they were wrestling's version of Nirvana, wrestling's version of Scream when it comes to the horror equivalent.
Yeah.
They changed the game when it was getting stale. But I think what was so smart here was, here's Mr. USA. Here's Mr. Eat Your Vitamins, Say Your Prayers.
Pastamania, all this, mumbo jumbo at that time.
And for him to spit in the faces of all of what he believed in and what he sold for all these years, it was the only guy that could really be turned to do it, because it felt like the biggest backstab in the world.
It did, 100%.
A fan. And I can't imagine the arena. It is just actually insane how much garbage they threw in the ring.
Yeah, it was littered. It was just there was more garbage than freaking Matt at that point. It was just completely filled. It's just funny seeing the people's reactions in the crowd. You see the kids that are all upset, the people that love Hulk Hogan, their hands are like that, and then you see the heel fans that are just chanting, they're like, "Let's go, this is a new era of wrestling," and everything like that. I'm so happy. It's just it was probably a 75% hatred and a 25% this is what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, and that's the thing with wrestling too, and Mick Foley always says this: reinvent yourself before you get stale. And there's a lot of guys now that they're just content if they get over once. Okay, I got this over. I'm not changing shit. And unless you're a Flair, no. Reinvent yourself. I mean, Mick Foley was Cactus Jack. Mick Foley was Mankind. Mick Foley was Dude Love. Mick Foley was Mick Foley.
Yeah.
There was so many different layers to that character, and he evolved it. Dude Love was funny. Cactus Jack was crazy and violent. Mankind was the horror take,
demented and just twisted, and then Mick Foley was just I'm gonna go out here and wrestle.
Yeah, and he was the lovable, the endearing character, the Long Island represent, Mr. Sacco, and all that.
Yeah,
but Hulk was stale. I mean, Hulkamania was stale. It was 11 years of Hulkamania. It was all right, man, you're over. You've won all the belts. You've been on all the main events. What else you got for us?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Overnight, he became the most interesting thing in pro wrestling again, because now we're going to get to see the complete 180 side of this red and yellow character. Now he's going to don the black and white NWO, and it is so captivating. It's really one of the greatest main events in the history of the business
Oh,
because
100%.
they changed the landscape, and that was really the moment I think that gave WCW the edge in the Monday Night Wars for over a year to come. I don't believe WWE gains the viewership back over like beating them in the ratings until like early '98. So yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was what's Flair on not Bischoff's podcast 72 weeks or something like that.
83 weeks.
83 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
so WCW was just so over, and that was just the hot what you want to watch at that point, and it showed. The thing that just faltered with WCW after that is just the implementation of all these jabronis into the NWO.
Yes, I agree. But I'll just get to a couple comments before because we can get into that too. Soulless Trenchcoats, Trenchy was in the house. What's going on, good brother? Hope all is well with you tonight. Death Central's in the house, dude. I'm happy you're catching one of my shows. I know you're a big wrestling guy. Haven't saw this event. Started watching around '97, dude. That's awesome too.
Definitely give it a shot, man. Definitely give it a shot. It's a great pay-per-view.
Yeah, he's saying never seen this show, but it sounds dope. Then he says, Cronny, you're literally a copy of my best friend as a child, like inside and out. That's crazy. Dude, I'm flattered to hear that. That's awesome. Yeah, Mankind was twisted, but also had that dark humor with Mr. Sacco and was very likable. Loved it when he teamed with The Rock. Yeah,
Rock and Sock connection, baby.
You have to have different elements to get over, and Mick Foley understood that. And it was so much of the spoon fit. Okay, Hulk Hogan's good. Hulk Hogan's good. Hulk Hogan's bad. Holy shit, man. It makes me want to watch Hulk Hogan right now. It immediately changed it. But back to what you were saying about why the NWO, because to me, you could have even stuck with these three and just stuck there. But they eventually added early on DiBiase and the Giant. And
DiBiase was okay. DiBiase is a good manager to add to the fold right there. And he was a heel already. He was a heel in WWF. DiBiase was a heel his entire career. You add a heel manager that just is the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and the gimmick was money. Like his gimmick was money, and it's like these guys are coming in making all the money. It made
I never even thought about it like that. That's actually a really good point.
And the Giant was the world champion at the night of this happening, or Paul White, Big Show, whatever the fuck you want to call him. The Giant was really an up and comer, and it was like, let's get another up and comer because we've got 3 WWF guys. And the fucking WWF, another in DiBiase, let's get an up-and-comer to be with us. Like those 5, if they had left it at those 5, I really wonder how great it would have been. Like,
then you just start adding all these freaking people. You start adding Scott Norton. You start adding Virgil. You start adding Buff Bagwell. I love Buff Bagwell. Like I'm a mark for him. I feel like people aren't, but you start adding all these. You add Stevie Ray was in it. You had freaking just
even there was the people that didn't need it. Like Macho Man. Why was Macho Man in the NW? Like why?
Oh yeah, we talked about this. He did not need to be in that. He should have been the guy that was opposing it, and he did for a little bit, and then he just joined them. He's like, oh, if I can't beat them, join them. Like you shouldn't have done that.
No, and Dusty Rhodes was in the fucking.
He was in the Wolfpack.
Yeah, what the fuck? Like,
he was the manager of the Wolfpack.
NWO, baby. Like, what the fuck is Dusty Rhodes doing?
Yeah, there was just so many renditions of it too. There was the NWO. There was the NWO Black and White. There was the NWO Wolfpack. There was NWO 2000. There was the
LWO sold out pay-per-view where it was their pay-per-view.
Yeah, NWO like the NWO 2000. I think it was like Jeff Jarrett, Bret Hart, maybe Nash, and then one other person. It was just Lex Luger was in the Wolfpack. Like Sting joined the NWO at one point too, because he was the only one that opposed the NWO. That's when he went into his crow face gimmick, and like that's another thing to talk about is like the evolution of Sting's character as the NWO got implemented into WCW.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because Sting, and again, like we were talking about Hulk, where it was the route the red and yellow. Sting was the Surfer Sting for years. I mean. And I loved the Surfer Sting. Don't get me wrong. Actually, it's funny. We've had enough Crow Sting that I actually would have liked to have seen the Surfer Sting, return at some point. But
yeah,
he even realized that the Surfer gimmick, it's lame compared to what the NWO is. The NWO is so new and cutting edge. who is anybody to believe that this surfer guy is going to come and beat them?
Yeah,
So
no.
it was like he overnight he saw the movie The Crow starring the late great Brandon Lee, may he rest in peace. He saw that and said, "Hey, why don't I take that character and implement it?" And all they would do was simple. They'd drop him in on a harness, have him point the bat at Hulk.
They just
And
had him
that's
sitting in the rafters for weeks, just like, when is he going to come out?
not saying a word, just building it through facial expression and having the commentators do their job and tell the story for him. Because if he had come out and been like, "I want blood, Hogan," it wouldn't have worked. It
No.
was his actions spoke so
A
far.
silent vigilante.
Yes, and that's how it got over, because it wasn't the regular surfer Sting wasn't going to get over in the modern era. We still all love Sting, but it's not believable against this new world organization of wrestling, brother.
Yeah.
And that's really, you're right. He had to adapt, and I think Sting is really one of the only guys that did that. Like, I mean, Mach didn't do. Mach joined the NWO.
DDP's the only one that didn't. Also, DDP's another one. He got the shirt, put it on, and then hit
All with the
Scott Hall
diamond cutter.
with a diamond cutter, and then had Nash go over the table and grab go over the ropes and grab the table with him. It was
And
just
Flair was against it too. Flair was like,
yeah, Flair as well. Yep,
don't
100%.
want any part of it, which I don't blame him. I honestly, I like looking back, and this is hard to answer off the top. So if you don't have like an answer, don't worry about it. But would you have maybe stuck with those five, like the original three, DiBiase, the Giant? Would you have tried to stick with them and just made them like a faction, like a dominant faction, and then maybe have a big blow off at your what the fuck
Starcade
pay per view? Like, that's what
I
I would
would.
have done personally, and then maybe it continues, but without a couple members. Like, give Hogan some time off, and then maybe bring Hogan back when Goldberg's coming around the corner. Like, I think they could have booked it so much better. I think it was just oversaturation, and
I agree.
got sick of the taste. That's what I think personally.
I would have probably had them dominate for like maybe a year and a half, then maybe have like a blow up, like you said. Have like, hey man, like, Hulk, I'm sick of you getting all the spotlight. I want to have the big gold belt, or I want to have the big gold belt, and then have one of them beat Hogan at a pay-per-view, have like the NWO maybe break up a little bit and have them stay together. Hulk takes some time off, and then maybe they implement someone new, like a new talent that they want to, and then he becomes the leader of the NWO, and then maybe Hogan comes back and says, I want my spotlight back. I started this NWO faction, brother, and it's mine to. I started it, and I'm going to take it down.
Yeah, no, do something creative like that. Like, instead, they did shit like the finger poke of doom later on, and
Horrible.
It's the big testament as to why this company didn't hang on. They had the greatest idea in the world, and I really, deep down, I believe this. I think they were so afraid to blow it that they blew it. I really do. I think that it was just like, we got something here. And instead of running with it for the long haul, the short haul was great. It really was great for a few months. But just adding this guy, adding that guy, it was like, oh, we'll get him over if we put this shirt on. Like, no, you have to get over, like we were saying before, like a match with Disco Inferno where, he's trying to get over on his own and show that he's a tough heel. Putting a shirt on a guy isn't going to make a guy.
That was a thing. That was the thing with WCW in its later years. Everybody was in a faction.
Yes,
that's what it was. There was the Filthy Animals. There was the MIA Misfits in Action. There was Team Canada. There was just everyone. Nobody had their individual personality. No one. It was just all these factions are gonna. It reminded me of like 1997 WWF when there was Los Boricuas, there was the Disciples of Apocalypse, there was Degeneration X, it was the Nation of Domination. It was all factions. You can't have four factions. Like, what is it? The two factions are going against each other. These two factions are going against each other. Nobody else has a personality. And you see when the factions break up, then you create stars. Like The Rock became huge out of the Nation Domination. Triple H became huge out of Degeneration X. Michaels was already a star at that point. The Los Boricuas and Disciples of Apocalypse, they were nobodies. Savio Vega, and then you had
the Radicals with Guerrero and Benoit.
Yeah, exactly. you had the Harris twins. We both hate the Harris twins. They both Ron and Don. They both sucked. They were a waste. They were in WCW as Jared. I think they were part of the NWO 1.2 with
Who the
with
fuck wasn't?
yeah, they were part of the NWO. I could be wrong, but I think they were part of the NWO 2000 as Jared's Jeff Jarrett's security, like his heavies.
Yeah,
They sucked, buddies.
yeah. It's a shame because it like, especially now when I watch the product now, because I'm not a big fan of the current product.
Me either.
There are talent I still like. Like I love Kevin Owens. I love AJ Styles.
Yep.
Like, there's guys I like still, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, but man, the creative is the problem. And it's interesting. Like, I wonder what world will we live in now if WCW had won the Monday Night War, and what world will we live in now if they had booked the NWO correctly and they had, established stars like a Chris Jericho, like Rey Mysterio, and realize that you can market these guys too, and these guys can go against the NWO instead of, oh, okay, we're gonna have Jericho get jobbed by Scott Hall. Why? Have to work a match. Like, Scott Hall can go over if Scott Hall doesn't feel like putting Jericho over, that's fine. But show that Jericho belongs. Show that the kid can hang. And they didn't do that in WCW.
It was little too late with WCW because I feel like me and you might have watched this match together when Kidman went over Hogan.
Yeah, what the fuck? That was so weird.
Just too little, too late, and it was just. If you just had these guys like you said, like a Jericho, like a Mysterio, like a Benoit, like a Guerrero, have them just like go over, or just like have like about this. Jericho wanted to wrestle Goldberg so bad, and he like built up this whole thing. Jericho 2, Goldberg 0 because he no-showed like a pay-per-view.
Greenberg, this is your daddy calling you. I love that.
Literally, it was great, and like these guys, these guys, this established talent that was in WCW, they just thought they were above these workhorses. And it was just like, that was really the demise of WCW, is these established stars that just were so like clenching to their like old school, I'm the man, I don't need to put anyone over, I'm still the star. You could still be the star, but you got to put someone over eventually. That's the reason I like Randy Orton, because he is a star, and he's put over fucking Jinder Mahal.
Yeah,
but he is still a star.
Yes, exactly. Like you're so right. It's ego. Ego was played a very big factor, and you didn't have that boss figure there. Like Vince in WWF, what he says fucking goes. Bischoff, they walked all over Bischoff. They knew he had
Bischoff was a fucking doormat.
Yeah, he was. It was. I'm Hulk Hogan. That doesn't work for me, brother. And I'm not doing this. If you believe this is right, I'm going to do what I want. And that hurt a lot of the booking. That hurt a lot of the storyline, and that hurt a lot of the growth of the up and coming talent. And it's a shame. It's a shame that happened. And then, part of me wonders what did Hulk Hogan think when he returned to the WWF and Chris Jericho's in the main event of a WrestleMania as the first ever undisputed champion?
Yeah, literally.
What did Bischoff think of that? What did Bischoff think of wow, I had Benoit, I had Eddie, and these two guys are the world champions crying in each other's arms as confetti falls
at WrestleMania,
famous arena at a WrestleMania, at a milestone WrestleMania, and you had them in fucking opening match, you had them in fucking dark match. It's just so, I wonder if part of me wonders, like, does Bischoff kick himself? Like, probably not. Maybe it's just because he wanted the money and he got the money.
Yeah.
But, man, part of me wonders, like, in a parallel world where WCW won the Monday Night Wars and booked this correctly, I would like to know what it would be right now. Like,
it's just kind of funny to see, like, what you were saying right there about Bischoff when he came over to WWE in 2003. And he became the general manager, just to think about all the people he rubbed the wrong way in WCW. I remember his introduction when Booker T is doing his backstage segment, and then you see Bish, like, he's like, "Can you dig that?" And then he's about to say "sucker," and then he's just like, his eyes get like all wide like that, and he looks over and he goes, Bischoff walks over to him, he's like, "Booker, how has it been?" and everything like that. And he's just like, what the fuck is this jabroni doing here right now? Like, he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, man.
It's a shame, but part of me wonders. I don't know. Tim said he's the third man, dude. Classic.
Third man.
That's my bad thought. I was already subbed some time ago, but one on your channel. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Rock on. Mankind was great indeed. First time I saw him, he was fighting my fave, Kane. I know Dan's a huge
Oh, I
Kane.
love Kane.
Kane's great. The mayor of Knoxville County, right?
Yes, sir.
Also says, I know some stuff about WCW, but I never watched the show. I think WWF had already bought them back then. Oh, okay. So that was like early 2001. Glad WWE kept the big gold for a while after,
Oh,
though.
the big gold belt was phenomenal. That was such a great belt.
Dude, yeah, no, that was Dusty Rhodes style. That was Ric Flair. I see. That's
Yeah.
my favorite belt in the history of belts. Like that's the coolest. Brothers Destruction destroy every faction, no doubt.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
yeah, I'm kind of falling out of the modern WWE. I like older stuff. That it's only modern wrestling. I really watch All Star Extreme Wrestling, the show Nate does. Oh shit, yeah, that's right. Nate does that show. That's right. Yeah, same man. They're losing me. I've only been watching recap of show for 8 months of recaps. So
Yeah,
aside
I
from Lust
can't.
and Bliss, I don't know, man. I can't watch any of that
Yeah,
shit.
personally, I don't even know about half the shit sometimes because my buddy, my buddy Tim, that's been in the chat, he'll text me and tell me some things that are going on because I know he watches the recaps on YouTube because he just knows that I've fallen out of love with professional wrestling, and I don't think he's as big as a fan as much either. But like, we'll still like see like recaps stuff like that. I see what my stuff on like Instagram. Like, I'm happy now that Big E Langston is the Money in the Bank winner. I want him to go over.
Me
I
too.
like him. I've liked him since he was with Dolph Ziggler. I liked him in the New Day. I thought they were great. Like they were great. I don't know, my love for professional wrestling. I think I'm really after the me watching Dynamite AEW this weekend. I watched it was Moxley versus I forgot the Murder Hawk, something like that. Murder Hawk something. I forgot his name. He's with Jake the Snake, and it was like a really good like tables. He got slammed through barbed wire. He was jabbing him with a fork. Like it was just crazy. And I like matches like that. Like I like hardcore wrestling, but I also like good wrestling at the same time. Next week, Grande, it's Nick Gage versus Chris Jericho.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Because MJF is putting him through like the 3 tiers of hell or something like that, or like whatever. Because like MJF beat him, I guess at the last pay per view. I haven't been keeping up that much, but he beat Ty Dillinger, Sean Spears. Now he beat him, and then he brought out. He's like, oh well, this guy, he robbed the bank with no mask on, did this and did that. I'm like, oh my god, they're bringing out Nick Gage right now, and Nick Gage comes out and he's like has the pizza cutter, and like Jericho's just like holy shit. And then they go back to him, and then Jericho's like standing like that, and he turns around, and he has the Painmaker face on from New Japan, and I'm like, wow, this is probably going to be a really good match.
Dude, wow, that's pretty cool, man. I don't know what you're doing next Wednesday night, but I sort of want to watch
Yo,
that.
bro, I really do want to watch it. I will so be down with watching that.
Dude, yeah, let me know. I'm having a lot of fun with AEW. WWE has really slept. Yeah, I agree. I trust me. If somebody said to me,
AEW is so much better.
you have to watch one, I would watch AEW just because Raw is like
AJ, what's the guy Murder Hawk's name? Lance Archer? Lance Archer is his name. He's with Jake the Snake, and he is like a 6'8" dude with like he's a good talent, man. I think he's really really good. And the fact that he won in Texas, and the guy he's from Texas too. It was cool to see Moxley like talking about WCW. Moxley, he's the established champion. He was the IGP, the New Japan champion or whatever like that, the United States champion. If that was Hulk, he wouldn't have put over this young buck from Texas, Lance Archer. He wouldn't have done that.
That doesn't work for me, bro.
Doesn't work for me, brother.
It's a shame. It's a shame that it all, ended the way it did with WWE.
No, this is a question for you. I think we were talking about this in the chat. If you had to start an NWO faction, who would be your 3 guys to start off with?
I saw somebody on Instagram asked me that.
I think it was that, yeah.
He said Cena.
I don't know about. I don't think Cena would work because he's been babyface for 15 years since besides when he was the Doctor of Thugonomics. Like that's it.
I think too with it is like people think, oh well, if Hogan was the babyface for so long, Cena would have to be. I get it. Like it obviously that's the parallel is like Cena.
Cena can talk. I'll give him that.
Sure, and I don't think he would be bad with the promos. I said Roman Reigns, Finn Balor, and Bobby Roode. I think those 3 would be really fun to see. Maybe even younger Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode's definitely up there now. But those
Yeah.
three, I think, would be fun because I think Balor is just a great worker, and I look at him, I see a lot of Scott Hall, like the great worker, great look. They both have good charisma. Bobby Roode, I think, is just money. I always really liked him, and then I think Roman Reigns is the the Hogan role. I think that would be really cool stuff. That would be me. But what would your pick be?
I don't know, man. That's a hard question for me because I don't really like any much of the new talent right now. Like I'm bad with that. Like I'm so like stuck in my old school ways with liking the old talent and everything like that. I don't even know, man. I would have to think on that one to be
Sure,
honest. I
think
can't,
we could get to a couple comments. Fun facts. I trained 18 months in the same first wrestling school as Kevin Owens, not at the same time at the family school of Jacques Rougeau when I was 11 years old. Sadly, had to stop, too expensive. Yeah, no, I understand that. So that means you're from Canada. Very cool. Yeah, no, I know. I know Kevin Owens and Jacques Rougeau have actually since had a lot of war of words. Like I know they don't like each other, especially Kevin Steen, if you will. That's his real name. He has shit on him numerous times, but it's really cool that Jacques Rougeau. I know right around us, Kurt Hawkins has a wrestling school, not 10 minutes from my house. I know that's a big thing.
we
Kurt
saw
Hawkins.
Matt Stryker at All American.
We did. We saw Matt fucking Striker last time we went to All American together. We did see Matt Striker. I think Randy Orton would make good NWO member, but I'm biased. I love him as a heel. Yeah, Randy Orton's money as a heel. Like I born a heel. I used to watch a little King of the Ring, and that was pretty good. Don't know if they're still around, though. King of the Ring pay-per-views ended in 2002, Trenchy.
Really?
Then they brought it back as like a Raw special. They do a 3-hour Raw, which is every week they do 3 hours now, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible. But they would do a Raw special. And like Regal won it. Sheamus won it. Baron Corbin won it. Like
Shinsuke Nakamura won it. I think the most recent one.
Did Shinsuke Nakamura win it?
Yeah,
I didn't remember
Shinsuke
that.
Nakamura won it. I'm pretty sure.
That had been
Booker T won it. Booker T was the best King of the Ring as most recently. King Booker.
King Booker. Brock Lesnar. That was the last pay-per-view. Brock Lesnar won it, and that was
he beat Van Damme.
They never did the pay-per-view again. I don't know why. To me, the best King of the Ring is Bret Hart, the 1994. It's literally called the Bret Hart Show, where he worked 3 different matches with Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. He worked with Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event, and the best match on the show is him and Mr. Perfect. It's the Bret Hart Show. It is one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time. It's King of the Ring 93. It's
King of the Ring. It was in 96 the one where Stone Cold won.
Yes, 96 is Stone Cold.
That's one of the good ones because he beat Jake the Snake in like the finals. So like that shows kind of how much it was deteriorating at that point that you have Jake the Snake like in 1996 going to be the King of the Ring.
Yeah, and that's like we were saying before with this was a 96, main event, big promo at the end. Whereas that one too, King of the Ring 96, everybody remembers that promo from Steve Austin. The Austin 316 says, "I just kicked your ass." You're from Quebec. Very cool, man. Yeah, I heard about that too. Haha. Oh wait, I was thinking of Ring of Honor, not King of the Ring. My bad.
Ring of Honor was pretty good.
Ring of Honor is still in business. I have some old school. I went to Trenchy. I don't know if you know Final Battle, which is their like WrestleMania. They do it in December, just like how Starrcade was always done in December. They do it in the city. And I went to Final Battle 2011. I have the DVD still. It's a really cool show. Kevin Steen versus Steve Corino. Really, really fun. That was when Cornette had the book. So Cornette was there. Cornette was on commentary, and he was writing the show. So it was a fun time. Ring of Honor, I used to love. Now I don't know. I don't even know who's in Ring of Honor anymore. It's just so.
Neither do I.
I'm so out of the product. I mean, you're talking 10 years ago, 2011. That's when I was really. Let's go to. New
I used to
York
love TNA. TNA when it was Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, like all that. That was when it was good too. And then when they brought the main event Mafia, when it was Nash, Booker T, Kurt Angle, like
Christian Cage,
Jeff Hardy was in it, like, and all like a lot of like Xavier Woods was in there. That's when he was Consequences Creed or something like that.
Yeah.
And Jay Lethal was the Black Machismo, like when he was pretending to be Macho Man.
Oh, who?
Oh no, I think he was being Macho Man.
Oh, Macho Man. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's great. The Black Machismo trying to be Mach. That's dude. Yeah, no, I remember it was big at that time. I remember kids had the Sting masks still. I was like, wow, like Sting
Oh yeah,
is still,
Sting, Abyss too. Abyss was a good was
and
good.
Bobby Roode and like no, they were
James
definitely
Storm,
yeah. Everybody
Rhino
always
was in it
mentions that
too.
match, the triple threat match. It was Styles.
Joe and Daniels.
Yeah, that's like
Great.
the whole,
That is a barn burner. That is such a freaking phenomenal match.
that's a great one. Yeah, no, that TNA, the early TNA stuff is actually really good. I'd like to, it's funny. Like I know we have all these streaming services and shit now. I'd like to get back into collecting wrestling DVDs. Like I used to have a library, man, just like my horror library. I sold it all when they announced that network, and then now I don't have the network anymore because it's on the Peacock.
Peacock, yeah. Peacock sucks. It's not even worth it.
I regret selling it now because I'm just like, fuck. Like, whenever I want to watch retro wrestling, I have to be like, yo, I have to mooch off somebody. Hey, can I use your Peacock for the night? Or I fucking watch it on
Hey man, you
YouTube
could have my Peacock whenever. I barely use it, so I just use it to watch my vintage wrestling whenever I want to.
Yeah, and usually when I watch vintage wrestling, I watch it with you. So
Yeah, facts.
it works both ways. But if you had to rank Bash of the Beach 96 out of 10, what would you give it as a rating?
8.5.
8.5. I will come in. I'll actually meet you there. I will say, top, like the first match on the card, last match on the card, great stuff. I really liked the Ric Flair United States title match with Conan. There's some other iffy matches in between, but like when you're talking about match of the year candidate in Ray versus Psychosis, and arguably the most impactful fucking main event and infamous main event in the history of a company, it has to be up there. I think it's a great show. 8.5 or even a 9 out of 10 for me.
Definitely agree.
I love when Kevin was speaking French Quebec's on Raw in his beginning. That gave me goosebumps when I heard Quebecos. I might be saying that wrong. I don't know. I named Kevin too. Oh, no way. That's fucking cool. Kevin squared. Those used CD movie places always have old wrestling DVDs. That's where I may have to go, AJ. There's not too many around me, but I will maybe a flea market or something just to fucking, I don't know, get all my shit. But is there anything else that you wanted to mention on here, good brother?
Thank you for having me on the show. It's been an honor, bro. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to doing another one with you. We just got to figure out what pay-per-view we want to do. I don't know if the guys in the chat want to just throw out like a couple, like a pay-per-view or something that they would like recommend for us to review or something like that, or if you want to throw up a poll or something like that, because I'd definitely like to do another one soon.
Yeah, and I know that you, Nate, and my friend Billy, you guys have all hit me up to do wrestling. So I'm always down, honestly, always like in the mood to talk, and I've been doing more horror, I've done over 100 horror episodes, but I'm always down to do this too. I think this was a lot of fun. So yeah, no, we totally can, we'll stay in touch on that and stuff. And when we do retro wrestling nights down the road, we can always pick something. So
100%, bro.
That door is always open. I want to thank you for coming on. It was a fun time having you as a guest on the Graveyard. Finally, it only took 100 episodes to get you on, but here he is in the flesh, baby. But
it will take another 100 episodes for me to be back on.
I promise. No, it won't. It will not. I promise, because too many people want to see this. It seems like it's definitely a popular topic, just like horror. So very cool
sir,
stuff.
baby.
But thank you so much for coming on. AJ says King of the Ring 98, WrestleManias 1 through 20. Holy shit. I mean, maybe we pick a WrestleMania. I don't know if we do 1 through 20.
I'll do like 17. I'll do like 17, 18, 19, or 20.
We could do like favorite WrestleMania matches or something. Like
we could do that, yeah.
We could even have Billy on for that, like the three of us. I was late. That was fun. Do Survivor Series 97 when Undertaker throws Mankind off the. That was
King of the Ring 98. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm coming to watch that match. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yes, sir, Tim.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Too sweet,
baby.
And we'll catch you all next time.
Later, boys.